Just. I'm not here. Oh, there I am. Yeah. Finally recognized. Yeah.
I know, who else?
Just like you.
Right, Nina?
Bucky. It was my fault because I was talking with her.
Chief of the buck.
Jim?
Does he have a shirt too?
Tell him to stop chatting.
There we
You guys
go.
all go shopping?
No, general. We're just fashion conscious.
Still didn't work.
June 24th. We're with it. Yeah, we're with it. When you head south, you gotta stop at Waffle House. No, don't worry about the waffle. Oh, no, you gotta stop at Waffle. Don't worry about the waffle. Bucky's. You'll be fine.
So you mean Madison, not a Ball Girl?
We
said
we're
so.
away, we're away. We're down. How far to South Community? You know. South Carolina. Yeah, winter was. Okay. They're still fighting the war yet. This is safer.
I know, it sucks. Gotta talk to the people upstairs, downstairs.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. We're going to call this June County Board meeting to order. Please join me for pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, roll call will show we have 4 supervisors absent, 16 present. We have a quorum. And we will move on to the approval of agenda. I would look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Will approve.
Goodman will second.
All right, a motion, a second. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, we will vote on approval of agenda.
No, thoroughly.
16 yes, 0 no. Agenda is approved. We move on to members of the public wishing to be heard. Start with Tom Zwiefelhofer. Please come up to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Zwiefelhofer. Now, my comments, I only represent my concerns. I do not represent the Howard Town Board. But I do believe my thoughts are shared by most in the county. I'm here to speak in opposition of the 0.5% sales tax resolution. I have lived my entire life on our 4th generation farm that I bought from my parents in 1982. I dairied for 36 years before transitioning into crop farming. I farmed 400 to 500 acres in the last 8 years. My wife also is a lifetime resident of Chippewa County. She worked at St. Joe's Hospital for 40 years as a nurse. I have also sat on a number of boards. Darylin Power for 7 years, Dunn Energy for 12 years, Town Board for 16 years with the last 5.5 as board chair. I also sit on the Chippewa Fire District Board. I tell you these things because I know the frustration as board members of there never being enough money to do all the things that you need to be done. In every budget discussion, There has to be priorities and also things we must delete from the budget. We all must live in the parameters of the incoming monies. To add a permanent sales tax of 0.5%, I do not think is the right way of raising budget money. We will be hurting the people we are trying to help, which is the next generation. I say permanent tax because the first 0.5% was to be very temporary, but we still have it after 20 years. We also need to remember that you all represent your own district, and I think you need to vote the way the majority of them feel. I do not believe very many in your district would agree with a new tax that will go on forever. Excuse me. You are spending other people's monies. Also, the wording of the resolution, it's a little off and leaves much to the imagination. For these reasons, I ask that all of you vote no on the 0.5% sales tax resolution and not forward to the Counties Association of Wisconsin. Thank you for listening, and good luck.
Thank you. Next up is Terry Lambert.
Good evening. I'm Terry Lambert. I'm from Bloomer Township. And I am here tonight with concerns about what is taking place regarding the proposed resolution to increase the Chippewa County sales tax. I do have concerns about where all of the money's going, what it's being spent on. Have there been actual audits of all the expenditures? I would like to see the results of those audits down to the penny. I would like to also know what efforts are being made to cut back in unnecessary areas. What exactly is the plan for every dollar regarding the increase in taxes? As most of us are aware, there's been a huge level of fraud in other state and local governments. This is a major concern to constituents and taxpayers and unfortunately raises questions, especially when faced with possible tax increases like this. One big question that has been in my mind is why audits are being denied by leadership in Wisconsin and not being allowed to happen with regard to some of the things that we're seeing and hearing about as far as major fraud in other states, counties, and cities. There's all kinds of things that are coming to light. These things affect all of us, and I realize that this meeting is specifically related to Chippewa County, but everything trickles down from higher government. This all ties together for all of us as taxpayers. I feel there's a drastic need for more accountability in all areas of government spending, and this needs to take place before raising any taxes and taking more money from people. Our eyes are open and we see what's happening all around us. We are not asleep as we once were. This is trust is a big issue. There must be more fiscal responsibility in all levels of government. There must be transparency for we the people. This has been lacking hugely. Audits uncover stuff like fraud, et cetera, and can save big amounts of money. And those things need to be looked into before just raising the taxes. It is easy to find places to spend money, and my question is, where are the efforts to cut back on the spending? My husband and I are retired. We have limited income, yet it feels like more and more is being taken away from us. With prices the way that they are on critical things, senior citizens specifically and others are facing hardships. Most of us saw an increase this year in real estate taxes across the board. In closing, I believe that before we consider just going ahead and raising taxes and bleeding out the people even more, we need to consider having full audits of every dollar spent, fully transparent and available to the taxpayers, effort put forth in earnest to find areas that could truly be cut back, as well as areas where there may be fraud occurring, starting with the state level, filtering down through the county and all the way down to separate townships and cities. And then together, we can all agree on best steps to move forward from there. And so I would urge you to vote no on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Heather Rothbauer-Wanish.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Heather Rothbauer-Wanish, and I am also a lifelong Chippewa County resident, as is my husband. I currently serve on the town board for the town of Howard, but please note that these are my personal opinions and they do represent the board itself. So first of all, I want to acknowledge that road and bridge funding is a real issue. Towns understand infrastructure challenges very well, Trust us, we maintain rural roads with limited budgets, rising material costs, aging equipment, and residents who expect safe, reliable transportation. So I'm not here to suggest the problem is not real. However, I do have concerns about this resolution moving forward as it is written. The proposal asks the state to give counties authority to add another 0.5% sales tax. While the intent is road and bridge infrastructure, this would still be an additional tax paid by residents. I understand there would also be tourists and people from other counties, but the majority would be residents throughout the county. This includes homeowners, farmers, seniors, and working families. The documentation also suggests that, and I put this in air quotes, up to 1/2 of the revenue could be shared with local municipalities. From my perspective, that language is not strong enough. If towns, villages, and cities are expected to support this effort, then the municipal share should be guaranteed, formula-based, and clearly protected in statute or ordinance. Could be shared is very different than shall be shared. I'm also concerned about accountability. Before supporting expanding tax authority, residents deserve clear answers. How much revenue is expected? How exactly would it be distributed? What projects would qualify? Would the funds reduce borrowing or simply create another revenue stream? And what safeguards would prevent future boards from changing direction? Currently, as written, the language is very vague. The town of Howard, where I live, is a small rural community. Many of our residents are lifelong county residents who already feel the pressures of higher costs. They understand roads need funding, but they also expect government to be careful before asking for more taxing authority. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the county board not to advance this resolution unless it includes stronger protections for taxpayers and a guaranteed municipal distribution. At a minimum, I would ask that towns, villages, and cities be directly involved before this proposal moves forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dennis Dvoracek. Apologize if I did not get that perfect.
Good evening. I've been a Chippewa County resident for 30 years. Previous 30 years, I lived in Eau Claire. I want to say that I'm totally against this 0.5% increase in our taxes, in our sales tax in Chippewa County, because if I feel that we spent money wisely, we wouldn't have to have more taxes. And what's the next one going to be? My business example of foolishly spending money is this Eau Claire street you're trying to put in, or will put in probably, all the way from 29 Pines into Eau Claire. Right now, where I live on County Highway T, takes me 10 minutes to get into Eau Claire. I believe from what I've seen, where I'm going to have to stop and go 4 times getting into Eau Claire. And I don't know what the speed limit right now. I get in Eau Claire 55 miles an hour with no problem. In 30 years, I can't even recall one time where there was a problem with traffic. So I think it's an absolute foolish expense to do that. How much gas is it going to, extra gas am I going to have to buy? Because I got to slow down and speed up 4 different times on the way in and on the way back. As I said, if we spent money wisely, like maybe we spend our own money, not OPM's, other people's money, residents of the county, that we wouldn't need to raise this sales tax another 0.5%. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Paul Krummenauer.
Good evening. I'm Paul Krummenauer from the town of Wheaton. And I do have land in the town of Howard too. So I'm going to talk about 3 different things tonight. So first of all, I want to thank you, the board, last month for approving the ATV routes that were requested. It's been an experience working with the county highway department, getting these routes opened up that are requested. I can't say enough about the county highway department and the committee, the way we've worked together, and the forestry department also, so thank you again. So, sales tax, yeah, I've heard it. The other day I was out of town and here it flagged up on Facebook and everyone was condemning it. And I encourage all of you to go to the highway meetings once in a while. You'll learn a little bit about what money is being spent, where it's being spent, and how it's being spent. It is just, it's overwhelming. And every time that salt and snow plowing comes out and everyone's screaming that, oh, the roads aren't clear. Well, it's got to come from somewhere. And then we have the issue of County M Bridge up in northern Chippewa County. It's a $10 million or plus dollar project. We got to pay for that somewhere or another. And that bridge is in bad shape, and we got to get some money some way. I'm not saying the sales tax is right, but on the other hand, I despise a wheel tax. And a wheel tax only pays, or only comes at your expense. It does not include someone that's traveling through our area that stops for a burger or whatever. And the last item I have, and this is my own personal thing. I spend a lot of time in this courthouse, and I totally understand why the cafeteria downstairs is locked. I'm not going to condemn that. But take a look at the bulletin boards in there. If you need to see the bulletin boards, you can't see them because you, as a public, cannot go in there. And there's information on those boards that once in a while it would be nice to be able to read them, but you can't without. So I don't know who to talk to, but I encourage someone to try to maybe move some of those bulletin boards outside of that room. I understand you don't want to have everyone's pancake breakfast and everything else posted on it, but there are a lot of items on there that I know this spring there was tree sales and you couldn't read the fine print. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have Joshua Conray.
Good evening. Nice to see you all here, those of you that are here. I too am here to speak about the sales tax. Generally speaking, I'm opposed to it. I know small business owners in this area that have been hit very hard by the property tax increases of late. This would only compound that problem. I don't think it's in Chippewa County's best interest to have more businesses going out of business. We've got a lot of empty businesses in Chippewa here right now. I can't speak for the rest of the county. But I know here in town, there's a lot of empty buildings. There's a lot of buildings that could be housing and business. And adding taxes is not going to help us fill those buildings. You know, generally speaking, I'm opposed to it for personal reasons because I do a lot of my shopping here as much as I can. I try to support the county in that way. If this passes, I don't have any problem shopping in a different county. That does not bother me one bit. I would rather save money. With regard to raising funds for roads and bridges, I agree with, I forget her name, but she was mentioning about doing an audit. Several people have mentioned the idea of being more efficient with the funds that we do have. I think that if there was an audit, I think if the priorities were examined a little closer, maybe see if we can cut some monies from some places, divert that to the roads and bridges. And then if there is still a shortfall, we can take a look at it then. With some of the things that could have funds diverted from them, some things that maybe aren't necessary but are niceties. We used to live in Elk Mound and they wanted to build a library there. And they had a, mostly funded by the public, as I understand it. Donations, fundraisers, that sort of thing. I think that there's a lot of items that probably could be funded that way rather than the county funding them directly. And perhaps then those monies could be diverted to roads and bridges. If there is a tax for the roads and bridges, I would like to see it come with severe penalties for misuse. And I mean severe, 20 years for misuse, because that is the people's money, not faith. We want to see it used correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to consent agenda. I would look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Planner so moves.
Watts will second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions, concerns, corrections to any of the minutes of past meetings? Hearing none, we will call the vote. Sixteen yes, 0 no. Consent agenda passes. Moving to reports. First report of the evening, we have the 2027 to 2031 Capital Improvement Plan. Administrator Alvarado.
Good evening. So we are already at the time of the year where we start preparing the 2027 budget. Actually, in the building here that started over a month ago. We start by laying out the capital improvement plan for next year and the subsequent years. Tonight, we'll go through the 27 projects that we've identified. We work with the departments to put this together. The departments work with their oversight committees to prioritize the projects. And then once I'll give a report, which is primarily the 27 projects. Later on in the agenda, as we move forward, you're going to hear about bonding. We bond every other year to fund a portion of our capital improvement plan. And then we have the individual resolutions for each of the department projects, which is how we allocate sales tax, bond proceeds, fund balance, those types of things. When those are approved, then that helps us build the budget over the next few months before we bring it back to the board for approval in the fall. So I'll start with facilities and parks. We have a capital improvement project in here to continue implementation of master plan identified projects. We've lowered this amount from prior years to $60,000. This would be used for repairs and maintenance and replacement of assets in the parks and campgrounds. Currently, the master plan is being updated. The last plan was mostly completed last year. So we have $60,000 of sales tax proceeds allocated to implementation of those improvements in our park system. We have $175,000 of sales tax identified for courthouse and law enforcement center exterior repairs and cleaning. This would be for limestone repair, tuck pointing, crack injection, and pressure washing of the exterior. You come and go out of this building every day until you stop and take a look outside. You can see some of the issues that are going on. It's primarily just a periodic and preventative maintenance project that is due to happen. If you have additional questions, Scott is here somewhere to answer those from Facilities and Parks. That's not an every year project. That's probably once every 10 years, I believe. We have variable frequency drive replacements, 7 units that were installed in 22 that are part of our HVAC system that are aging out and are end of life that will be replaced in 27 with the sales tax proceeds. The jail fire system is also 25 years old and at or near end of life. So we've allocated sales tax dollars of $50,000 to go towards starting the design of the replacement fire system in the jail and sheriff's department. We have our county highway projects for 27. And so I won't go through the full list, but you can see there that we have a number of bridge projects that are either in the design or rehab design plans that we get bridge funding for to the DOT and federal sources. And then we match that with sales tax dollars to fund the project. And then the lower list is the actual construction projects. So we have a couple of bridge projects in there that are further along in design or actual replacement. And then reconditioning of county highway trunk miles. You can see the estimated cost for each, the project length. And then for the bridge projects, there is a little bit of, not a little bit, but substantial amount of bridge aid that we get from state and federal dollars to go towards the actual bridge replacements. And then the county highway work is funded through sales tax and bond. And so we have $14,559,000 of total projects there. We have $6,090,840 of state and federal aid, 1.9 million of levy dollars going into those, into maintenance, 2.7 million of sales tax, and 3.8 million in bonded funds to fund the $14.5 million worth of work. Another highway project is machinery purchases. This is a fairly consistent amount year to year where we allocate 1.5 million of dollars towards the turnover in machinery. That list is put together by our highway department. It's based on useful life and the cost to maintain the equipment and replacing those higher cost pieces of machinery on an annual basis. We allocate $100,000 annually for the highway department facilities. We've got multiple facilities here in Chippewa Falls, Boyd, Cornell, Bloomer. So we have $100,000 of county funding that goes just to maintain those facilities and grounds. That's a consistent amount year to year. We allocate $340,000 of sales tax for vehicle purchases. This is for the non-highway fleet, so this covers all of our turnover in squads and the outfitting or build out of those squads once we get them, as well as a handful of fleet vehicles that are human services, facilities and parks, other county departments use. Those are the vehicles that are on the north end of the lot. We allocate this money consistently to keep turning those vehicles over so we don't carry any high maintenance vehicles within the fleet. Now we'll move into the IT area. And this is a fairly standard amount with the amount of IT equipment we have throughout the building to support all our employees. We have $455,000 allocated to replace end user devices and data center equipment, funded through $210,000 of fund balance and $245,000 of sales tax. This includes storage area network, switches, camera servers, end user devices, which are things we use every day like personal computers, laptops, tablets, IT equipment in rooms like this, LCD panels, and then also printers and copiers. And then that's a fairly consistent amount year to year just to keep up with all of that IT infrastructure that we have. Additional project next year is security camera replacement, where we're allocating $50,000 of sales tax. It's replacing some cameras that are becoming 7, 8 years old. And we phase those in. So every year we're replacing some of our security cameras as they start to expire. We also have in the Land Conservation and Forest Management, $100,000 County Stewardship Fund. This was created through Resolution 7698, and that is funded out of fund balance. And that's a consistent amount year to year. We allocate $300,000 for county forest land acquisitions, and that is out of fund balance and anticipating a state grant to match that. This does not happen every year, but we keep it within the capital improvement plan. This is when a piece of property that is within the county forest block may become available for purchase to round out our block. We would tap the fund balance and apply for the state funding to proceed with that acquisition, all of which comes through the county board for approval if any of those projects ever come about and proceed. We allocate $120,000 in the capital improvement plan every year. So it'd strictly be grant funded through the state DNR through the Snowmobile AIDS program. So this is if the snowmobile clubs that we work with have a bridge project that is funded by the state, we run the money through the county. This is in there to receive the money and proceed with that bridge project. No county funds go into those projects. Now we're moving into the sheriff's office. We have $165,000 of sales tax allocated for body worn camera replacement. The original contract for our body cams was signed in '22, and they effectively expire after 5 years. So this is a full reset at the 5-year mark for $165,600. I think as everybody's aware, those have become a critical part of our safety and liability for our law enforcement officers. So it's important that we keep those current. $62,250 is in here from sales tax, to upgrade the evidence storage room and telecom cameras. So we've identified some areas of improvement regarding our evidence storage that would get us closer to best practice for evidence control and accountability. This primarily is including adding cameras and some additional, I think, just better security for that area physically, as well as adding cameras into our telecom area. We have cameras throughout the jail and other areas of the sheriff's office. This would put them into telecom as well. $80,000 project, out of $68,000 sales tax and $12,000 in grant funding to replace the duty weapons for our officers. So this would replace 50 weapons and upgrade them to more current models. This would be an 8-year turnover, 8-year current models we've had for 8 years. We're due for replacement. $66,000 of sales tax monies allocated to a handful of different equipment items within the sheriff's department. Fingerprint machine, jail pod computer, portable blood pressure machines, scanners, and PBTs, preliminary breath test units that our deputies have with them in their squads. This would be replacement of all those items to more current models. And that is all of the 27 projects. So if you have reviewed the document, you see that we have worked with the departments to project out beyond 27, 28 through 2031 as best as possible. But year to year, we only act on next year's projects. So those are the resolutions that you'll see later on in the agenda to allocate those dollars in those areas. So when we put together the budget, we know where we're pulling from.
What questions do we have for the administrator? Supervisor Shoebridge.
You made a comment that some of the roads are being paid through bonding. That's essentially taking out a loan, correct?
It is.
So how much loans do we have to take out to get through our budget this year? How much are we going to debt?
See here.
Well, we're taking out bonds.
Yeah, we're taking on new bonds, but we're paying off old bonds. So
Well, we're taking out one loan but paying off other loans. How much in debt are we?
how much?
The question is
So we're taking out 7.5 in new. Let's get down here.
in other words, are we like the federal government and just keep going further and further in debt every year?
No,
What's our trend? Are we paying things off generally and getting stronger, or are we going down?
no. If I defer this question to,
Well, it's in my next presentation.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say the important thing to me is that we try to keep our debt service flat so that we're not raising the amount of the levy every year that goes toward paying debt. By paying it off and taking out new, you'll see when they do the bonding presentation that we keep the amount we're paying relatively flat throughout the years. And I'll just say it's, our combined debt service annually is just over 2.2 to 2.4 million. That's our annual payment.
Payment.
Yep.
All right, Supervisor Hennick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andy, how much is the Highway M Bridge going to cost us? And when will it be done?
Can I, do you have the more current?
We don't have it more current than we had before. We're talking right around that 14 million. It's going to be depending on
When we do it.
when we get the funding. Every year, it's going to cost us more. Prices are going up as we speak, so.
And we don't want to give you a vague answer, but part of it is that we're trying to secure federal funding to offset the amount that we'll have to invest. Part of it will depend if we can get that and when we have access to it. We've applied every year. It's been available this year. They want us to be closer to having the project ready to go. So we're doing the design work now. But I would say the earliest we would be able to incorporate that project is 2030.
Yeah, that's what's looking like now. We're working, like Andy said, with the feds. We're also working with the state. we're just waiting to see where the state's gonna be with their
Bridge aid.
this year. They keep kicking that can down the road this year. We should have known by now. We don't know what it is yet. It may make the program, it may not.
And the state did raise the cap on the amount you can get out of the bridge program to 10 million,
Yes, 10 million.
which is in our favor, but like Chris said, we don't have a timeline when we're going to find out if we have access or not.
Well, let me ask you this, how close is that, do you think, that we'd have to shut it down?
We're okay yet. We're not seeing any major issues than what we've seen. The traffic's been behaving. I haven't seen any of the heavy loads go across that we've seen in the past, so they're behaving themselves. It's better.
So best guess, how many years are we away from that bridge failing?
I couldn't put a number on that because all it's gonna take is one heavy load or two heavy loads to meet on that bridge. We could be having a whole different conversation overnight. That's a total unknown. I can't answer that.
With that information that was just spoken, does that change your priorities on getting that money funded and getting that bridge fixed?
It does not. I mean, it's our priority. Right now, it's the only bridge we've submitted to the state for funding. Every other bridge project is below that. And unfortunately, that means if we don't get funded for that bridge, we don't get funded for any bridges through the state. But that's because it's our number one priority.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Supervisor Shoebridge.
Have we looked into alternate means of raising revenue at all? Like, for example, the Verizon M Bridge, try and get advertising space, get like we do for sports stadiums and things like that. A possibility.
I do not know if it's a possibility. I find to say it's not if nobody's done it yet, but I can't say that for sure.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Alvarado. We will move on to department reports. The first one being monthly statements of claims filed.
As you'll see in your packet, there were 2 new claims since our last meeting. Technically, they came in between the time the agenda was published and when we had our meeting, but they're new since the last meeting. If you have any questions on those claims, you can reach out to Corporation Counsel.
All right, we'll move on to overview of bonding process. Finance Director Symington.
So I'll just go over a brief. Quick bonding presentation, kind of high level of the bond process and what we have. If you have any questions, just let me know. So the first just couple definitions is a bond is a written promise to pay a specified money or specified sum for payment of principal at a specific date. And we also pay interest annually, so similar to a loan that anyone would take out. And then the bond rating is the level of risk that is assigned. The rating agency assigns the bonding rating to a municipality borrowing the funds. Currently, Chippewa County has a AA1 bond rating. And so we bond in order to secure funds for the capital improvement projects, construction projects, and others that we don't have any other funding available for. The goal is to maintain an even annual debt payment, so it does not negatively affect tax levy limits. We do plan to bond every other year, so currently we're bonding on the even years. We have had some discussions on switching that to an odd year so that this isn't the first thing that new county board members vote on, to kind of give you a little bit of time to get acclimated with the county process. So we're discussing that and how that would look and how we would make that transition. If we do so, you'd be involved in that process. So like I said, we tried to plan for a bond every 2 years. We try to keep that around $3.5 to $6.5 million. So bonds that are less than $5 million are required to be spent within 3 years. Bonds that are over $5 million are required to be spent within 2 years, so it does go down. So this year, we are planning to borrow for 7.5 million, which would mean the monies do need to be spent within 2 years of issuance. And today, you'll have an initial resolution to start off this 2027 bonding process, or the bond for 2027 budget. And then the resolutions will be here to allow us to start that process. So there are 3 types of bonds that municipalities generally use, which are listed here on the screen. We use the general obligation bonds, which are bonds backed through taxes. And then we use the sales tax to actually pay for the annual payment. So here's what the bond ratings, there's 3 different types of, or 3 different agencies. We use the Moody's bond agent, or rating agency. So we are the AA1, which is the highest grade that we can get in that high grade. And that's the highest rating that we are going to receive due to size of our county. And here's where the rest of the Wisconsin municipalities rank. So we are over on the left slide, or the left column there on the AA1. So we're, like I said, as high as we can go. As you'll see, that their totals do not tie, and that's because not all municipalities get 2 different ratings. We, for instance, are only in the Moody's. We do not go for a rating with S&P. So that's why they do not equal. There are 4 basic areas for developing bond ratings. We can only control 3 out of the 4. So that third one, the economy and tax base, is the one that we cannot control. So we do not have control of how the economy is doing, the unemployment rates, the income levels, and just the location of the area. Here's an example of our credit rating that we received the last time we took out a loan or a bond, and so that would have been in 2024. It is on the website if anybody wants to go look at the full rating. And then here's the bonding process. So you see it lasts several months. If you approve the resolution tonight, this is what our bonding process will look like. The date of sale is where we actually go out and buy the bonds. And typically that's happened in September. This year, we're changing the bonding process just slightly in our favor, I will say. And Brad from Baird will be up here in a little bit to explain a little bit more of that process. But so this time we can go between August and September, I would say, to go out to purchase the bonds. Once we receive the funds, which would be around September, and then we just complete paperwork and then report back. So this will answer previous questions. So our current balance, bond balance as of February 1st is $6,630,000. So that is the outstanding principal. And these are the bonds that we have taken out and the ones that are still outstanding. So in 2018, we took out a bond for just over $8 million, and the outstanding principal on that is $1.8 million. And you can see what those bonds were taken out for. And then in 2020, we issued a bond for $3 million, and the outstanding principal is $745,000. In 22, we took out a bond for another $3 million, and that outstanding amount is $1.5 million. And then in 2024, so the last time we issued a bond for $3.5 million, and that outstanding principal is just over $2.5 million. So that makes up our outstanding bond at this point. And you can see the majority of these are for highway construction projects. Bond payments are due on the 1st of February, and then interest payments are due in February and August. So we pay interest twice a year. So why do we have to bond? As I just said, we do bond mainly for highway construction projects, as we do need to repair the roads And we don't have another funding source at this time in order to do that due to levy limits and other factors. So we are requesting bonds this year for more highway construction projects. As you can see, our current PACER rating for Chippewa County roads is fair at 5.94. So we're just above the middle there. And that PACER rating is a rating on the condition of our roads. And we do have the fourth highest miles in the state. For our county size, that is a large number, because we do not have the fourth highest population. So you can see that we have made some great progress in the last, 6 years, 4 years. A lot of that is due to the ARPA funding that we received. Highway did spend $8 million on roads, and that is what helped increase our PACER rating over the last, 2, 3, 4 years. If we would have not received those ARPA dollars, our PACER rating would have gone down. And as Administrator Alvarado have just pointed out, this is the projects for 2027. This is what the bond would be for, as he just went over with you. And this is the timeline for the bond process, which we'll be going over with Brad from Baird in a little bit. And then here's the long-term financing plan. Might be a little tiny there, but you can see over on the far right there is where our debt service payments are. So we're trying to keep that relatively flat. And that is what I have.
What questions do we have?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
Supervisor Shoebridge.
I'm a Randy fan, and so we've learned in our personal life that loans make us poorer. Interest rate payments, things like that, we pay more for our house than if we would have just saved up and bought it. Is there a way or means in our budget to do that here, to get out of this cycle of loan? Because roads don't make us money. It's not like we're gonna buy this and it's gonna be an income, it's purely an expense, loss of money.
I will probably say no to that. We're doing as much as we can. From my experience, we actually have probably one of the lower bonding rates and outstanding principals. So I think we're doing a fairly good job of keeping that really flat and still not getting behind. We use our sales tax dollars a lot to help offset some of our big projects and stuff, and a lot of other counties are probably going out to bond for those. So I feel that we've been set up pretty well here at Chippewa County, and so we don't have to bond for a lot of different items, but we are continuously having to do that, and you can see the rates are going up only because we have so many road miles. We don't have another mechanism in order to provide the funding for that. So I will probably say, anything's possible, I guess, but we could try, but I don't know that. We might be hurting ourselves more than we're helping ourselves at that, if we get that far down.
Supervisor Hennick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Has there been any studies, any options to look at discontinuing some roads or turning them into gravel or anything like that to lower our costs that are how low use roads?
Sure.
We done any looking at?
I'm going to turn that over to Commissioner Elstrand.
I'll tell you no. Nobody wants to end up. I think the short answer to that is no. Nobody wants to be the one that lives on the gravel road. Everybody wants to live on a paved road. We go through on some of these lesser county roads. We turn them to gravel. They're gonna become higher maintenance. I think your constituents are not gonna be happy if all of a sudden their road turns to gravel. Can we turn them over to the towns? No, we can't. The state cannot make us take a road. We can't make the towns take a road. Typically, if that was to happen in the past, there has been jurisdictional transfers. We've done that with the state, Business 29, X. But the state stuck a lot of money into that and gave us a lot of money that went with that before we took it. And if we were gonna do that to the towns, they would want the same. And I think the towns have the same problem we have. Once they get the road, they won't have the money to fund it. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Isold.
Have we ever not had to bond? Is that just a normal?
They've been on the bond, so I've been here for about a year now, almost. But the history has been every other year. As you can see, the amounts have fluctuated, so we try to keep them down. So we'll probably have a high year and then hopefully have a couple low years. But yes, I'm going to say a short answer to that would be yes. Always bonded at some point for something.
No matter how we spend, save, we're always bonding.
Well, we try to save as much as we can, especially through the sales tax, and kind of get a lot of that, use the sales tax as much as we can for projects instead of bonding. But yes, I will say we've probably always, I mean, I've only gone back so many years. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I haven't gone through all 72 counties, but I'd be surprised to find one that doesn't have some debt service. And once you have debt service, I'll just say you really can't get out of having debt service because of the way the state has somewhat controlled local government levies. We're operating under a levy restriction, so annually we can only increase our operating level by net new construction. And that net new construction is usually between 1% and 2% a year. On top of our operating levy, there's a library levy, you can have EMS levy, and then there's a debt service levy. So if you take, say you decide you didn't want to bond anymore, all that money we're spending on road projects now, there are zero ways for us to fit it in the operating levy. So our best, when we talk about living within our means, it's kind of what we're doing now by doing the amount of roads we can and keeping our property tax levy, which is the operating, the debt service and all that, somewhat low, and our debt service is consistent year to year as part of that overall levy.
So do we have an amount that we know that 5% would bring us or take away from the bonding service? Would that take away from that, or would
It's
that
possible
always
that you
be?
could, I guess we're gonna get to that, we can enhance that, but, right now we're about 9 million is how much the sales tax levy brings in, so if we added 0.5%, we assume it'd be the same. So we'd be looking at 4.5 million to the county if it was done today, and we're not doing that today. But it'd be up to the board if they, would add that all on for additional roads and bridges, or take the current debt service that we're paying on roads and bridges and take it out of there. Those are all what-if details if we ever had the opportunity to make those decisions.
Is it good? All right, Supervisor Rochelle.
Thank you, Chair. How much are we paying in interest annually on these, or distribution with the yields as compared to
I
principal?
don't have it on me. I think this year,
What's the percentage between principal and actually paying?
I know. Over here. Next person.
Compounded monthly?
So this year, the county's paying approximately $243,000 in interest on the debt that's outstanding.
What's the principal that we're paying back though?
$1,830,000 was paid this year.
Do we have any additional questions? Thank you. That will bring us to business items this evening. First business item is One Fest Ltd. 2024 to 2026 revised contract. All right, I'd look for a motion to approve to put it on the floor.
Bomar moves.
Any seconds?
Motion a second. Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, this is very similar to what we did last month with the Chippewa Valley Music Festival contract. Because of the ordinance amendments that happened earlier this year to the large assembly ordinance, we want to reopen or amend and restate the current contract with One Fest to incorporate those changes. In the cover memo, it outlines those. It's in the amendment to the ordinance included redefining the security personnel and law enforcement staffing ratios. So we're adding those into the contract. More clarity and detail to the invoicing, how timely we need to invoice in order for the event to pay the invoice. Does not change their time frame, their effective date. This is the last year of this contract, so the end date is not changing. New paragraph C for indemnification, and added paragraph 13, the administrative review, which was part of the ordinance amendment again, that gives the event the ability to appeal the security personnel staffing levels as identified in the ordinance. And the reason this is in front of you tonight is because the ordinance amendment this spring requires that all contracts under the large assembly ordinance come to the county board for approval.
What questions do we have? Supervisor Bachman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the part 13, where the exec committee determines the results, do they have authority if it affects budget?
They do, but we'd have to come back here to actually amend the budget.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because if, similar to what happened last year, that affects the sheriff's department budget.
Question. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. Release. 15 yes, 0 no. Contract is approved. Move on to number 2, Resolution 12-26, initial resolution authorizing not to exceed $7,500,000 general obligation promissory note for highway improvement projects.
Resolution 12-26, initial resolution authorizing not to exceed $7,500,000 general obligation promissory notes for highway improvement projects. Now therefore be it resolved by the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors that the county borrow an amount not to exceed $7,500,000 by issuing its general obligation promissory notes for the public purpose of paying the cost of the construction and improvements of highways. And be it further resolved that there be and there hereby is levied on all the taxable property in the county a direct annual tax in such years and in such amounts as are sufficient to pay when due in the principal and interest on such notes.
Before I look for a motion, I just want to call out that since bonding, this is bonding, will require 3/4 vote to approve. And that is of the elected body, not of the 16 supervisors present, but of the 20 supervisors currently elected to their office. It'll take 3/4 of that group to approve. I will look for a motion to approve to put it on the floor.
Taylor so moves.
Goodman will second.
A motion and a second. Supervisor Alvarado or who's taking this first? All right.
So I'm Brad Vigut with Baird Public Finance, been working with the county on developing this financing plan. So I'll just walk through the presentation material that was included in your packet and answer any questions. As you see up on the screen first, there's a process, a timeline that I've put together. The executive committee has already reviewed these two, really this resolution plus the next item on your agenda, the sale resolution, at its meeting last week. It's in front of this body tonight, and if these resolutions are adopted, then Baird and the county staff will take the steps necessary to bring the issue to market. So we'll develop the offering document, which is called an official statement. It's really a disclosure document that investors will use in deciding the interest rates. We'll submit a rating application to Moody's Investor Service, and we'd secure that credit rating. Again, the current credit rating of the county is AA1, second highest rating that Moody's assigns. It's a very good credit quality rating. I expect the AA1 would be affirmed and assigned to this new issuance. And then there's one more resolution that would come back through the committee and to the board in August, and that's called the parameters resolution. And this is where the process this year is, the recommended process is just a little bit different than the process the county's followed in the past. The parameters, and I'll be at the meetings to go into more detail on the parameters resolution, but just in general, it would have the board establish a very narrow set of parameters. Once those parameters are met, the debt can be issued outside of a regular scheduled board meeting. So, and that's by delegating the authority to finalize the terms to other officials of the county. So the change there is, in the past, what would come back to the county is called an award resolution. And that award resolution would have all of the final terms, interest rates, principal payments, and the board would adopt that resolution or consider that resolution at a regular scheduled meeting. The drawback with that approach is you're limited to really one night a month that we can finalize rates and terms. So if we've got a situation where there's economic announcements or a choppy market or some reason it's not a good time to issue debt, you didn't really have, you'd postpone a month. With the parameters resolution, we have much more flexibility to stay away from economic announcements or move off of bad market or high supply dates and secure the lowest possible rates for the county. But there'll be more detail on that resolution in August. And then it's anticipated that on September 2nd, rates and terms would be finalized, and then the board would receive a report on the final rates, because everything I'm showing tonight in this packet is just estimates based on current market. And then the issue would close September 21st, and you'd have your first payment would be scheduled for February 1st of next year. So it would be included as a component of the budget that would be adopted in the fall. As a reminder, as mentioned, this specific resolution, this initial resolution, does require 3/4 votes. So based on attendance tonight, that means 15 yes votes. If there's more than one no vote, then the borrowing can't proceed under this resolution. So by way of summary of this resolution, this is a not to exceed $7.5 million issue. General obligation promissory notes, so it's a pledging of the county's taxing authority. It's anticipated that sales tax revenues would be applied for the payment, but the security that the investors are looking for is really that GO pledge. And based on the 3 different types of bonding that was in the earlier presentation, this is the lowest cost of financing for the county. So that's why the recommendation is to use the GO issuance. So the structure, you would have annual principal payments beginning in February, and the final payment is 9.5 years after issuance, so it'd be February 1st of 2036. The call feature, that is the county's ability to prepay, will be determined at the time of pricing, but it'll probably be in 2034 or 2035 that the last 1 or 2 years could be prepaid or refinanced at the county's option. Now, based on current market, I've got penciled in a 3.68 interest rate. Today that rate would be a little bit lower. I'm being a little conservative just for budgeting or planning purposes. If this were in the market today, it'd be closer to 330, 335. And then the detailed financing plan is attached. On the left-hand side of the page are the existing principal and interest payments of county obligations. The issue that this resolution addresses is on the left-hand side of the boxed-in area. That's the $7.5 million issue. And you can see the principal and interest repayments that are structured. The future obligations are just placeholders for planning purposes. As was mentioned, we try to maintain a very level overall payments, and we can't do that if we're ignoring future issues. So I've put in these hypothetical future issues out through 2030, and then the far right-hand side of this page shows the existing plus the 7.5 plus these hypothetical new issues. And you'll see there are some steps up, but overall we're trying to maintain a very consistent repayment schedule. So with that, I'd be glad to go into more detail or answer any questions anyone has.
Supervisor Guthman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I look at 2026 borrowing and then 2028 borrowing, in 2 years, potentially, it looks like here there's a 3.4%, and you just explained that, right now you kind of have a placeholder for the percentage of 3.3. But today, potentially, if we would be able to sign, it would be like 3.3. So I'm assuming like in 2 years, when this would come back to us, that interest rate could fluctuate a little bit too. That's just kind of a placeholder, also for projections and planning purposes. Is that a correct assumption?
Exactly. All of the future rates I'm showing are using the same estimate of current market rates that I use for 2026. The reason they're a little bit different is just the different structuring changes the interest rates a little bit.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Hennick.
Thank you, sir. The resolution 1226 and 1326, that means we're borrowing $13 million, right?
No, it doesn't. There are two separate resolutions for the same borrowing. So the first resolution is really an initial authorization that if the three-quarter vote is achieved, that's the authority that the county needs to provide to proceed. The next resolution is also 7.5, but it's not an additional 7.5. It's directing county staff to take the steps necessary to actually issue the debt.
Roger that. What happens if we don't get this, if it doesn't pass?
Well, you'd have
What
to
happens at a county?
develop another financing plan or find another source of funds to, or cut projects. But the only way you can apply debt to this project is with three-quarter vote.
Do we have any other questions? Supervisor Gehring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because we have such a fine line tonight with our voting numbers, if this should fail, can this same proposal come back at another time?
Well, I can answer that, but a corporate counsel could also. But if somebody who votes in the negative asks to have it reconsidered, it could come back. But somebody who votes in the affirmative wouldn't have the authority to ask for the resolution to be reconsidered. Another approach, you can't bring back the same resolution in the same county board. So another approach would be bring back a different resolution, which might be a different borrowing amount, for example, which is materially different. It can't be $1 different, but if it's $500,000 different, that would be a potential avenue to bring this back.
So, yeah, just what the proposal here is. How time sensitive is this vote?
This vote could be deferred until June, and we could still stay on the timeline of awarding in September. So, I'm sorry, until July. This is June.
This is June.
Yeah, this is June. So do you meet in July?
Yes.
The board, yeah, so if the board took action in July, we could still stay on the same timeline, slide a week or so, but it wouldn't be a material change.
So, Mr. Chairman, where I'm coming from this, because of our numbers, is this something we should consider postponing?
I guess for the sake of not participating in the debate, I'm probably going to punt a touch. This really is kind of the decision of the body. Obviously, bringing this forth and voting in favor of it exec obviously shows where I am at on the topic. But as far as procedurally, it's really up to the body. I can't say yay or nay either way. So, are you good, Supervisor Gehring? Or do you have additional questions?
This might be a question for Corp Counsel or you. What would have to take place now, after the motion's been made and seconded, to postpone this?
Be tabling.
It would be to postpone it to a certain date or the next meeting.
Can that motion be made on top of the motion we have now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let the other speakers speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hull.
This is just a clarification on the number for the 3/4. Is it a 3/4 of the 21, 3/4 of 20, because there's a vacant seat?
It's 3/4 of the 20.
Of the 20, okay, that's just a clarification.
Thank you. Supervisor Shoebridge.
I'm a little concerned with some of the things I've been hearing is that we used to be debt-free in Chippewa County. I've heard that many times from people who used to serve on the boards. And now being in debt is a matter of course. Of course you're going to be in debt. The neighbor's in debt. Everybody else is in debt. That's really worries me. So I really would not vote for something like this until we have a plan. How do we get out of debt and have more money available to do things freely with cash? That's just my comments. Thank you.
Supervisor Hennick.
I think it's the razor thinness of this almost demands that we postpone for 30 days, and I make a motion that we postpone for 30 days. Or the next meeting. Whatever comes from it.
Motions to postpone to the July meeting, full board meeting.
Yes, sir. We're on
July 14th, to be specific.
a razor thin.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to postpone this to the July 14th full board meeting. What questions do we have on the postponement? She's taking the screen now, so just raise your hand if you have questions on the postponement. I can't see who's pushing their buttons currently. Supervisor Bomar.
Are there any immediate costs or consequences to the postponement?
No, not in terms of the financing, no. I don't know if the county has contracts that you're waiting to, assign, but. Okay, so, no.
Supervisor Gutman.
And on that same track, thank you, Mr. Chair, are there other detrimental rippling effects by postponing until the next meeting that affects timing, maybe not only with contracts, but with staff responsibilities and how their work is done? Are there those rippling effects that we need to be aware of? I think we'd be okay.
Not for the sake of debate, but for sake of procedure, are there other agenda items tonight we would also have to take this action on because dollars are tied to those?
13 and 14.
13 and 14 we'd have to address when we get to them.
Oh, no, 13.
There's 13.
No. Resolution 13 and 14 or just 13? I think just 13.
13.
Resolution 13.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
14 is just debt service on the current.
That's just the current one.
So it'd just be our next agenda item.
Well, they think maybe possibly resolution 17. No.
It's just a highway resolution.
So business item 7, resolution 1726 would also have to. Thank you for clarification. Supervisor Hennick.
I just want to strongly say that I think that this can't pass tonight if we leave it, if we don't postpone it. I highly, highly recommend you hear me on this. Cannot pass tonight if we do not postpone.
Appreciate the feedback. Supervisor Gehring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So does the motion have to change to include those other items?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Pauls, that we would have to make a motion at that time when those agenda items are put on the floor. Okay.
Separate, okay.
Yep, separate at that time. Any further questions on the postponement? Hearing none, we will vote on the postponement. Are you ready?
Yeah, it went way down to the bottom. I couldn't find it for a minute.
Thirteen yes, 3 no. Topic will be taken up July 13th at our next board meeting. And that brings us to business item number 4, resolution 1426, resolution to authorize, pardon me? Just on top of my apologies. Resolution 13-26, resolution providing the sale of not to exceed $7.5 million in general debt promissory notes. We need the full read if the intention, I suppose we have to wait for the full read.
Resolution number 13-26, resolution providing for the sale of not to exceed $7,500,000 general obligation promissory notes. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Board of Supervisors of the county that Section 1, sale of the notes, the County Board of Supervisors hereby authorizes and directs that general obligation promissory notes in a principal amount not to exceed $7,500,000 shall be issued for the purpose specified above. The sale of the notes shall be negotiated with Robert W. Baird and Company Incorporated, and the terms of the notes, including the dating, interest rates, maturity schedule, and other details with respects to the notes, shall be subject to approval by subsequent resolution of the County Board of Supervisors. Section 2, official statement. The county clerk shall cause an official statement concerning this issue to be prepared by Baird. The appropriate county official shall determine when the official statement is final for purposes of Securities and Exchange Commission Rule 15C2 12, and shall certify said official statement such as certification to constitute full authorization of such official statement under this resolution. Statement 3, reimbursement. The County Board of Supervisors hereby officially declares its intent pursuant to Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2 to reimburse any expenditures made in connection with the project prior to the issuance of the notes with the proceeds of the notes in an amount not to exceed $7,500,000.
All right, I've been informed by Attorney Pauls that we do need a motion to approve to put it on the floor before we can consider a postponement. Okay. Motion.
And a second.
Motion and a second to approve. It is on the floor. And then given its relation to the last agenda item,
Motion to postpone to the next meeting.
motion?
Over second.
We have
Wait a second.
Bomar. We have a motion and a second postpone this as well. Are there any questions on this postponement? Guess I can raise your hand if there are. Tell me when you're ready. Well, are there any questions before I call the vote? Seeing none, we will call the vote for postponement. Fifteen yes, 1 no. This is postponed until July County Board meeting. Now we'll move on to business item number 4. That's Resolution 14-26, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds to pay debt service liabilities as a part of the 2027 Chippewa County budget.
Resolution 14-26, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds to pay debt service liabilities as part of the 2027 Chippewa County budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $944,800 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2018 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the 2018 capital improvement radio tower project, transportation bonds, and refunding the previous bonding to be included in the 2027 Chippewa County budget. And be it further resolved that the sum of $253,675 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2020 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the transportation bonds to be included in the 2027 Chippewa County budget. And be it further resolved that the sum of $364,400 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2022 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the transportation bonds to be included in the 2027 Chippewa County budget. And be it further resolved that the sum of $225,250 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2024 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the transportation bonds to be included in the 2027 Chippewa County budget. Forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Look for a motion to approve.
Any motions?
Lots will second.
We have a motion and a second. Schrader?
This is preparing the 27 budget, would be allocating the sales tax dollars to summarize, to pay all of the current debt service payments that we already have obligations for.
What questions do we have? Last call on questions for this resolution. Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Supervisor Rush. 15 yes, 0 no. Resolution passes. 1426 passes. Next one, we'll move on to Resolution 15-26, resolution to approve the use of sales tax funds for the annual contribution to the Chippewa Valley Regional Airport to be used for airport capital projects and/or airport debt services as part of the 2027 Chippewa County budget.
Resolution number 15-26, resolution to approve the use of sales tax funds for the annual contribution to the Chippewa Valley Regional Airport to be used for airport capital projects and/or airport debt service as part of the 2027 Chippewa County budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $132,890 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the airport budget in the general fund to pay Chippewa County's 2027 airport agreement contribution to be used for capital projects and debt service as enumerated in the airport budget, all as part of the recommended 2027 Chippewa County budget, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Look for a motion to approve.
Later, so moves.
30 seconds.
A motion and a second. You'd like to add, Administrator Alvarado?
No, we have a contract, 5-year contract, just with Eau Claire County for operation of the Chippewa Valley Regional Airport. Our allocation is flat for those 5 years. It's the $132,890. Can only be used for debt service and capital improvement projects at the airport. And we're funding that and have been out of the sales tax.
What questions do we have? Supervisor Gehring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess where my problem with this is where they come up with that number. Is it based on their overall expenditures? Does it, is there excess there that doesn't get spent? How guaranteed are we that our money is being used properly?
I, off the top, cannot tell you how that number was arrived at, just that it was part of the contract negotiation that settled on the 5-year contract. I believe we're going into year 4 of that, and our allocation is the same every year.
Is that negotiation with our airport committee or the members of this body that are on that? Are they involved in that?
I'll ask Chairman Hull, as our representative on the airport commission, if he has the history.
Yeah, the expenses that we have are shared between Eau Claire County and Chippewa.
Yes.
Everything, and this is set, I think it's on the airport budget, on their long-term budget, and then you split it up for, that's why it's 5 years, set it this way. And ours is a little bit more unique than Eau Claire's is. Ours is for capital improvements only. Eau Claire actually can be used for other things, so we're even more specific, and it's very much watched over. And it's usually all spent, the capital improvements, it's used,
I can't speak to how the number came to be, but the board does review and vote on that contract every 5 years. So that does come past the board. You're at Supervisor Shoebridge.
So my understanding, this is a contract, so this is not an option to pay, this is a contract, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bachman.
Do we get an annual report of what the expenditures go for?
We do. We get an annual report from the airport, and they do report to the Economic Development Committee.
Do we have any other questions? Hearing none, we'll call the vote on Resolution 1526. Sixteen yes, 0 no. Resolution 1526 passes. On to Resolution 1626, resolution to authorize use of sales tax funds for facility and parks division capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan.
Resolution 16-26, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds for Facilities and Parks Division capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $60,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2027 budget to be used to continue the Park Master Plan implementation. And be it further resolved that the sum of $175,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2027 budget to be used for courthouse and law enforcement center exterior repairs and cleaning. And be it further resolved that the sum of $90,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2027 budget to be used for variable frequency drive replacement. And be it further resolved that the sum of $50,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2027 budget to be used for jail and sheriff fire system replacement Phase 1 design. Forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
I would look for a motion to approve.
Lots will make a motion.
Bachman will second.
A motion and a second. Administrator, anything to add?
I do not have anything to add.
What questions do we have? We reviewed this in the KIP plan in the earlier presentation, but questions are still welcome here. All right, seeing no questions, I'll call the vote on resolution 1626.
You guys are going too fast. All right, you're good. I know. The screen's to click.
16 yes, 0 no. Resolution 1626 passes. On to resolution 1726, resolution to authorize funding of the Highway Department capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 Chippewa County budget.
Resolution 17-26, resolution to authorize funding of Highway Department capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 Chippewa County budget. Now therefore be it resolved pursuant to statute 2-361A3B of the, I guess that's not the statute, of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances that the sum of $2,700,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to be used to fund Highway Department roadway and bridge projects in 2027 as part of the 2027 county budget. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chippewa County Policy 305, Fund Balance or Non-Lapsing Account Expenditure Policy, the county board does hereby authorize the Highway Department to utilize fund balance in the amount of $1,550,000 from the Highway Department Machinery Fund to purchase Highway Department machinery in 2027 as part of the 2027 county budget. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chippewa County Policy 305, Fund Balance or Non-Lapsing Account Expenditure Policy, the county board does hereby authorize the Highway Department to utilize fund balance in the amount of $100,000 from the Highway Department Machinery Fund Balance to be used for the improvement of county highway buildings and grounds projects in 2027 as part of the 2027 county budget. And be it further resolved pursuant to 2-361A3B of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances that the sum of $340,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to be used to fund replacement of vehicles in the county's non-highway fleet in 2027 as part of the 2027 county budget. Forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Look for a motion to approve.
Lots will second.
We have a motion and a second. Administrator, this was, because it's tied to the bond funding, we would need to postpone this as well.
I would table that as well, yes.
Then I would seek a motion to postpone to the July county board meeting.
Omar moves.
Hennig seconds.
Omar and Hennick. Do we have any questions on the postponement? All right, Supervisor Gutman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of another question, as these are the sales tax funds for things that the county is doing on a day-to-day basis and need is by postponing this particular resolution, are there negative ramifications?
No, this is all for 27s.
Oh,
I think, correct.
Never mind.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll call a vote on postponement of resolution 1726. Yes, 1 no. Resolution 1726 is postponed to the July County Board meeting. Moves us on to Resolution 1826, resolution to authorize use of sales tax funds for the IT division for computer equipment replacement as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan.
Resolution 18-26, resolution to authorize use of sales tax funds for the IT division for computer equipment replacement as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $505,000 consisting of $210,000 from fund balance and $295,000 transferred from the sales tax fund to the computer outlay account be used for computer system equipment replacement in 2027 as part of the 2027 county budget, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
I would look for a motion to approve.
Lots will make a motion.
Middle second.
We have a motion and a second. Administrator, anything you'd like to add?
I don't have anything to add.
What questions do we have? All right, seeing none, we will call the vote on Resolution 1826.
That's okay. I have lots of buttons to click. There. Now you can go.
Sixteen yes, 0 no. Resolution 1826 passes. Moving on to Resolution 1926, resolution to authorize the use of funding for Department of Land Conservation and Forest Management capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan.
Resolution number 19-26, resolution to authorize the use of funding for Department of Land Conservation and Forest Management capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $120,000 be applied from the county's snowmobile state fund to be included in the 2027 capital improvement plan as part of the 2027 county budget to be used for construction of snowmobile bridges if grant funding is approved by the Department of Natural Resources. And be it further resolved that the sum of $300,000 consisting of approximately $150,000 from State of Wisconsin grants, $150,000 from the Forest and Trails Special Conservation Fund balance be included in the 2027 capital improvement plan as part of the 2027 county budget to be used to acquire county forest lands subject to county board approval. And be it further resolved that the sum of $100,000 consisting of approximately $100,000 from county stewardship fund balance be included in the 2027 capital improvement plan as part of the 2027 county budget to be administered pursuant to the Chippewa County Stewardship Fund Policy and Procedures for Program Administration as previously adopted through Resolution number 89-99, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
I would look for a motion to approve.
Bomar moves.
Lots seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Administrator Alvarado, anything on this one?
Just to highlight, there is no sales tax in this. This is using either bringing in state grant dollars or using fund balance for these purposes.
What questions do we have? Supervisor Shoebridge.
To clarify, the fund balance you said, where is that, from the general fund? What?
They have set aside funds from forest.
For their budget?
Yes, yep,
Or from the state, so there's no, okay.
yep, not out of the general fund, it's designated funds.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will call the vote on Resolution 1926. Sixteen yes, 0 no. Resolution 19-26 passes. Moving on to Resolution 20-26, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds for the Sheriff's Office capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan.
Resolution 20-26, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds for Sheriff's Office capital improvement projects as part of the 2027 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $364,850 be transferred from the sales tax property relief fund to the Sheriff's Office equipment fund as part of the 2027 budget to be used to improve, update, and enhance the Sheriff's Office continuity of operations plan by purchasing body-worn cameras, duty weapons, handheld preliminary breath tests, a live scan fingerprint machine, a portable blood pressure machine, jail pod computer, 4 desktop scanners, cameras for the evidence room and telecommunications center, and fob access doors for the evidence rooms, telecommunications center, and the administrative office, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
I look for a motion to approve.
Lots will make a motion.
Any seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Administrator, anything to add here?
Nope, I have nothing to add to that one.
All right, then what questions do we have? Supervisor Shoebridge.
So we've been kind of talking about debt. How much of this is urgent, nice to have? One of the things I was reading was replacement of revolvers or guns. How often do they go bad? I still have my father-in-law's old sheriff revolver. So how much of this is really nice to have and how much is really necessary?
I probably would be best to turn it over to the chief deputy. I'll just say for the turnover in the Glocks, we're shifting to a new model. He can tell you how many rounds they run through those guns as part of their training. It is extensive.
There's several parts to this. We were notified by Glock. We switched to 40 cals quite a while ago, and we were notified by Glock, that's the weapon that we carry right now, that they've discontinued their Glock line. We've been seeking to transition to 9mm for some time now. We've been talking about it. And it's just logical for us now, since they're discontinuing the 40, to make the switch. And we're at our 8-year mark right now of we want to switch out. That's roughly around the time that we start to see firearms malfunction where we have to replace parts. I understand what you're saying. I have guns that are older than me, and they work. But in our business, we need it to work every time.
Exactly. The IT department, that's my field. I can say his rotation is good. I just don't know your world, so that's why I have to ask the question.
Yeah, it's critical it's a critical piece of equipment that we need to be assured that something is not going to malfunction. And we see right around the 8-year mark, and that's kind of the sweet spot for us. And other agencies do it every 5 years. We've been doing it every 8.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Just one quick,
Supervisor Hennick.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
What has more punch, 40 or the 9mm?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, no pun intended. Boo. We're switching to 9s because there's been a lot of development in rounds. It's more about the round development than actually what has more punch. We can carry more 9mm rounds in our magazine than we can 40s. And at one time, 40 was superior over 9s just because of the quality of the rounds. Now 9mm has picked up the pace and they make some really decent defensive rounds now, and we can carry more ammunition in our magazine.
Supervisor Bolmar.
For reference at Legal and Law, we discussed this same exact question, and I think the answer was relative to the number of rounds that were actually shot through, and I don't remember the number that we discussed, but is it 10, 12,000 rounds?
It really depends, because we're allowed to take our firearms home to shoot, and practice with it by ourselves at our expense. So it really depends on the individual, but it's probably not 10,000 rounds. I'm going to say it's probably closer to 6,000 rounds, 6,000 rounds, somewhere in there that we fire. We qualify every other month, so we put quite a few rounds through.
Right.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will call the vote on Resolution 2026. Sixteen yes, 0 no. Resolution 20-26 is approved. Resolution 21-26. Chippewa County Board of Supervisors proposed resolution for WCA consideration. Resolution seeking authorization from the Wisconsin State Legislature for Wisconsin counties to adopt an additional 0.5% sales tax for road and bridge infrastructure.
Resolution 21-26, Chippewa County Board of Supervisors proposed resolution for WCA consideration. Resolution seeking authorizations from the Wisconsin State Legislature for Wisconsin counties to adopt an additional 0.5% sales tax for road and bridge infrastructure. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors hereby respectfully request that the Wisconsin Legislature enact legislation granting Wisconsin counties the authority to adopt an additional 0.5% county sales and use tax in addition to the existing 0.5% currently authorized by statute with the following parameters. The additional 0.5% sales tax may be adopted by county ordinance with approval of the county board. All revenue generated from the additional 0.5% sales tax must be used exclusively for road and bridge maintenance, repair, and improvement within the county. Up to 1/2 of all revenue generated must be distributed to municipalities within the county. Be it further resolved that upon adoption, a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to all state legislators representing Chippewa County, all Chippewa County municipalities, all Wisconsin counties, the Office of the Governor, and the Wisconsin Counties Association for consideration at its 2026 WCA business meeting. Recommended for approval by the Executive Committee.
Look for a motion to approve.
Later, so moved.
Hardy seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Alvarado.
Sure. So, trying to decide where to start. I think there's been quite a bit of information in the resolution, and some of the fact sheets have gone out with it, so I'll just try to add to those. This is, again, not adopting a 0.5% sales tax. Chippewa County may never adopt a 0.5% sales tax, even if the legislature would give the counties the authority. Currently, counties do not have that authority. So this resolution is more of a, I would say, a position paper that we had timed to go to, if approved this month, to go to the Wisconsin Counties Association, because the counties have to have resolutions in this month to be considered by the full Wisconsin Counties Association membership at the fall business meeting. There, if it's accepted and approved, the WCA potentially works that into their legislative agenda in '27 as part of their efforts. This is not a new idea or something Chippewa County is first talking about. The county has been talking about it here since at least 2015, and there was a resolution adopted in 2020, almost identical to this one. Same principles, though, that asking the legislature for the ability to add the 0.5% sales tax, again, shared with local municipalities, with the towns and villages, and restricted to infrastructure, to roads and bridges. So that's really the ask. Just to incorporate some of the public comment that from tonight and other places, I don't think anybody here disagrees. I think we included some language in there that as far as accountability, we leave that up to the legislature on how they want to authorize and track that. Whether it's some of the details are purposely vague, not because we don't have opinions, but because we've had communications with the Counties Association as to how this conversation has gone before. Because legislation has been introduced in the last few sessions by different legislators, by the governor's budget, to allow this. And we know, at some point when that legislation is developed, it's going to have the Counties Association input, the League of Municipalities, the Alliance of Cities, the Towns Association, the road builders, WMC. Everybody's going to have their say as to how it plays out as far as how the monies would be split. I know from having these conversations, the cities will want something perhaps based on equalized value, or the towns want something based on road miles. I mean, those are all negotiable points that we did not concern ourselves with, because at some point that happens elsewhere down in Madison. So that's why those details aren't in there. We did, I shouldn't say we, the executive committee did add a paragraph within the resolution. I wanted to highlight that. That's the last whereas, that whereas Chippewa County views the most appropriate final approval of any additional 0.5% sales tax before implementation would be through a referendum vote taken by Chippewa County residents. There's been some questions about a referendum, and legislation that has been introduced in Madison. Some of it's included the requirement of a referendum. Some has not included that. If they include it, then I think that would be the route we would have to consider taking and making that sales pitch to the residents. Even if legislation, if it were ever adopted in Madison, if it did not require a referendum, that is still the decision of the board, could require a referendum before adopting it. I think the other thing, like I said, maybe something that the county never actually considers if the opportunity presents itself, based on whatever comes out of the final legislation that would be signed by the governor. There might be other details, restrictions, caveats that would not be palatable to Chippewa County, and we might not do it. There might also be, trade-offs when this is negotiated elsewhere if this moves along. One thing that's come up is that potentially a negotiating point would be a county that adopts a 0.5% sales tax. There could be no wheel taxes within that county. Municipalities or counties would be prohibited from doing both. Those are the details we did not concern ourselves with. This is really taking a position and trying to push the legislature to make some movement on something that would allow local decision, local control, and targeted towards roads and bridges. And I understand the concerns about where money goes. Our audits are every year are posted on our website for the last decade if anybody wants to look at them or look at the books. And I agree. I mean, we're not, I'll say that if I'm here when this ever would come back up, it's going to go towards infrastructure as the legislature outlines, and anybody can track those dollars to make sure we're not putting it into other programs or expanding other places of government. We know we have a need in our infrastructure. As Leah highlighted, we have the fourth amount of road miles in the state. We have 489 miles of county road and 988 total lane miles. That puts us at fourth. We have the second, we also are in the bottom 10 though in the amount that we're in our property tax levy or levy per capita. So I think we're doing a good job of controlling spending, but at the risk though of our infrastructure starting to continue to fail. And I think in the supporting information, under our current investment, now that we're not using any more ARPA dollars, we're on a 51-year cycle for repaving roads and 30-some year, 31-year, 32-year for crack sealing. And for paving, we want to be half that. Crack sealing, we should be under 10 years. So there are already decisions being made. We're using different ways to prioritize which roads we're reinvesting now based on the amount of monies we have. But those decisions will just get harder, and there will be roads that will continue to fail unless we find ways to make larger investments into those to keep up.
Supervisor Erickson.
Yeah, you gotta excuse me, I've got allergies that kill an ordinary man. Hit the throat here. Hope I don't lose my voice. I would really like to see this come back to the counties where it's our decision. Personally, I feel that sales tax is the fairest tax. I would like to see it come back again to the county and that it would go to referendum. Half would go to the county, half would go to the municipalities. I'd like to see it rated on road miles. There was other talk about the audit. I believe every year we have an outside independent audit as far as where we're spending our money, and that's an outside independent audit. People are talking about how expensive their property taxes are. 2021, we were at $3.10 a thousand, and in 25, which is the last year we have all the comparisons, we were at $2.12. That is a 31% decrease. As of, I believe this is for 2024, we were the sixth lowest in the state in property taxes. And in all the contiguous counties, we are the lowest, and Clark County is the highest at $681 a thousand. So I think fiscally, we're very responsible. We do audit things, and I really feel, again, that a sales tax is the fairest tax, and I'm 100% against a wheel tax. Thank you, Chair.
Supervisor Lotz.
Thank you, Chairman Bergeron. Did you say in 2020? When was the last time somebody asked to increase the sales tax? 2020?
Yeah, the Chippewa County Board passed a resolution similar to this,
And what was the results of the legislature?
failed legislation,
Okay, thank you.
introduced but not ever adopted.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gehring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank those people who spoke and who are here concerned about this issue for staying around to listen to this. I've been on the Highway Committee for 3.5 years, and this is pretty much every meeting discussion. We've got a lot of costs, a lot of bridges, a lot of roads that need to be maintained, and we don't have a lot of money. So how to raise that money has been discussed repeatedly. Wheel tax, property tax. It was the committee's decision that this was the fairest type, if that had to go. I'm not opposed to a referendum. Nobody likes to have their taxes raised, but the cost is always gonna be there, and we're gonna have to come up with it somehow. So if this should fail, it could end up on property tax, and then it's only the property owners, not everybody that spends the time in Chippewa County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Hennick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've had contact with 89 constituents, and only 2 of them were civil to me about this sales tax. And both of them disagree with it. I have not had one, not one, say that they wanted it. I don't disagree with a lot of things that are said here. I also contacted the leadership in Lake Hallie. They were pretty clear about the sales tax issue as a negative. And representing my constituency, I just don't see any advantage for ignoring them. And as far as the wheel tax, the citizenry of this county spoke last time you passed a wheel tax by firing a lot of supervisors in the next election. They were very vocal about that. They were very vocal in my district. But yes, I reached out and contacted many of them. Couldn't find any positive out of this. I don't know why it's making a big demon and bugaboo. It's real in my district. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Supervisor Hardy.
So I just want to reflect for a second that this again is just a proposal. It's not law. It's not going to be a law without a lot of work from a lot of other people. So whatever we provide is not likely how this would end up. But I wanted to kind of touch on the property tax increase because we all saw it. And that has more to do with reappraisal of the property itself, not the percentage it's being taxed at. So that is nothing that we have any control over, unfortunately or fortunately. I mean, the county is getting better, it's making more businesses, it's increasing the value of everybody's property. At least that's my understanding of it. I could be wrong. I'm learning. Okay, I'm obviously wrong. Okay, I'm gonna learn more. Again, I'm a newbie, so forgive me. But for me, I ran on securing roads and bridges in our county because I know we have so many compared to so many other counties. And you have to remember that this isn't just driving roads. This is job roads. This is safety roads. This is security of the entire county. It's a lot easier to get to somebody's house when they have a paved road as opposed to a gravel road that you might slide on, or there might be ice pockets. And I talked to a lot of people about this, and I will agree, nobody wants a 5% sales tax or a 0.5% sales tax increase. But I did talk to one person who lives in a very remote part of this county who does not want to drive on gravel roads. And that is my worry, is that at some point, if we don't start making decisions now to help us in the county going forward, that a lot of those roads are going to have to turn to the ground. And nobody wants to live on that road. I like the idea of the sales tax as opposed to any other form because yes, everybody's responsible. And I would think that if this were to pass through the state, get approved by the governor, that you're probably going to see a lot of other counties implement the sales tax, regardless of what Chippewa County does. And that's going to affect everybody in Wisconsin. And if you want to go to Eau Claire, then if they raised it, then you're going to have to pay more. They have less roads than us. So do they really need to do it? I don't know. But I hear a lot of the concerns, but I'm also concerned about the future of the county. I've got at least 40 years here, and I want to make sure that I'm safe to get to where I need to go, And I want to make sure that we have those roads that can attract the job seekers to our county, which will then provide us additional tax revenue. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Supervisor Isold.
Just something off of you. What is the reality that you would take a road and turn it back into gravel? What is the reality of that?
We've got some that we're getting dangerously close. I mean, we've got sections of County S over in the northeast corner. That road is pothole, I mean, it's bad. County double E, north of O, there's a section of that, it's extremely bad. And that's, I mean, it's gonna get to the point where that's the only option, and we're gonna be able to make it somewhat smooth driving surface.
So when you put up this list of things that you're gonna fix, that you're gonna take the money and you're gonna go fix them, have we ever thought, hey, we're not gonna fix that this year, we're gonna go fix off of County Highway S, that could be turned into a gravel road first before we would fix that? Has that ever, do we see that, are we seeing that?
We have done that, County W, I bring that one up multiple times for you guys. ARPA money, we're able to get to W. We use a process where we rate our roads. A lot of that's weighted on traffic counts. Unfortunately, the closer we get to Chippewa, the heavier traffic, more, just more traveling. Those roads tend to carry more weight to keep them maintained. We're at a point where we've got a road in good condition. We know that if we take steps to maintain that road earlier in its life, it's gonna last longer. So it's a balancing act. Unfortunately, a road that gets 300 cars a day, it's hard to warrant that versus one that's 5,000 cars a day. If I answered your question, but.
Yes and no, in a way. I wonder, to me, if we put something off 2 years on, we'll just say County Highway X, and wouldn't fix that road that you say that are getting dangerously close being put to gravel. And then the other question I have is, with these budgets, has anybody ever turned back money and said, hey, we don't need that? We don't need to spend that here, let's not spend that here, or?
You talking within our county departments?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had, like, last year, we had underspent, the overall budget was underspent, where we had surplus revenue. Some of that.
We put that money.
Some went back to general fund, some we moved into highway, so that we did reduce our use of sales tax and bonding in the upcoming projects.
And is there a way to always do that, to where we put that back there, we give that back to the highway, versus putting it back into the funding, so they can get some of these projects that they say are dire and are about to turn to gravel roads? Have we taken that money versus putting it back in funding, just giving it to them?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't ever, I should just say, it doesn't go to somebody else to spend. If it goes someplace, it goes to highway, or if we see, like, we know this year already, we're seeing high placement costs in juveniles, human services. So we made sure to have some of that put in reserve for that to come up. But I'd say those are the two areas of the priorities. Where are we tracking for out of county placement costs for human services? Because that can eat up our budget in a hurry. And then, shifting money to the highway to take on more projects or reduce our reliance on other sources of revenue. I mean, I can only speak to last year. That's the first chance I've had to do that. I can't guarantee that every year we'll have surplus funds. Some of it depends in the sheriff's department on staffing and if we're incurring a lot of overtime. Human services is the other area that, every so many years we have unanticipated placement costs that eat up our budget plus the fund balance. Year prior, health insurance, we had a high utilization of our self-insured health insurance, so we shifted some money to cover the losses there.
Have we ever done, or are we doing, or is this strange to ask that if the county is saying we can fix the road for X amount of dollars, have we ever taken and bidded that out to somebody to see if somebody could bid us in a lesser direction to be able to fix that same road? Have we ever done that? Are we doing that?
I'm gonna say, I don't believe we have done that.
No, we don't do that. I mean, it's pretty typical. I mean, we're competitive. We do a lot of township work at times. We're competitively, we're in a competitive process with the road builders. Sometimes that, when we can only do time and materials, we can't give an estimate. We do it time and materials, actual cost. There's times that we're cheaper than them on a particular road. There's times that,
Is there documentation for that? That's showing that you are competitive and that you are cheaper? Is there documentation saying that, fixing, double E or County Highway S, that you went and got that bid, or there's somebody that bidded that or showed you that you are cheaper?
Typically, the only time, as far as at the township stuff, yes, that you could use that as comparison. Some of these guys from the towns, no, they see our bids, they make a decision on whether they want to hire us or not. Some townships, and I'm not gonna, there's none in particular, there's some townships that we are the low bid, and they choose not to award it to us for various reasons, their reasons. There's other townships that we've potentially been a little on the higher side, or we're close, and they've given us work because they like our work. As far as outside work, we do, we get an LRIP. So that, that's outside funded. That'll be paved by contractors. It's county roads being paved by contractors. But that's how it's driven by the funding source that it is. We're not allowed to do that work.
Supervisor Flater.
As being part of a chair on the highway committee, we've beat this a lot. We've looked at a lot of different options on this. Back in 2020, we were only able to pave 7.5 miles of our 389-mile roads. In 22 to 25, we were able to pave over 20 to 30 miles per year with the COVID money, which this 0.5% would give us equivalent to that. We're back into a cycle. We were back into the cycle of 25 years where we need to be instead of 60. This year, we're only able to pave 9.4 miles, which puts us back up over that 50-year cycle when these roads should be replaced every 25 years. Through our networking, all the associations, we've been bouncing this thing off other counties. We realize we cannot go in there and do this as an island. But every county that, in fact, we drove back from a convention right now, and the counties that we were talking to about this, these guys were just like on board. They're hurting everybody other, but we know that we can't have it. Up in Forest County, they have kind of a similar issue. They have, they're at 5.5%. The city of Rhinelander has a, what do you call it?
Premier Resort tax.
Premier Resort. They have the extra 0.5%. So they're sitting side by side, and Menards outside 5.5%. So they have issues with that. And we know that we can't do that. We want on board to go through WCA. It's going to get voted on by all the 72 counties. They take up what they're going to spend their effort on for legislation. Just to give you, if right now, currently the 0.5% generates us around 9 million. If you take that 9 million and run it out, it actually comes out to the cost, 9 million per year, costs approximately 86 cents per day per family based on the census of 2.36. So that would be the cost to a family. If you took and figured that just taking a figure saying 10% of that is going to be, of that tax is going to be paid by people from out of town, tourists, that drops that down to 86 cents. Excuse me. 78 cents per family per day. So, again, there's many counties that are interested in this. This is just a starting point. Again, this was on the thing. Our previous administrator had been working on it, and he was getting it close. And COVID came in, and all of a sudden we had this influx of money. We didn't pursue it because we didn't need the money. We had the money there. So we need to get this moving through to help, not just our county. We want everybody on board with this. Yeah, this got blown out of proportion. The full information wasn't given out to everybody. They were just told that we were coming here tonight to vote on a tax, and we were putting in a 5.5% tonight. And that, my phone was ringing off the hook also. So I would appreciate support of this. Thank you.
Supervisor Bachman.
I got a couple questions. Are we the only county pushing this forward to the counties association? And do you know of others that counties are pushing it?
I don't know. I mean, historically, no. I know other counties have pushed this through this year. I'm not.
You haven't talked to other?
No, I've told the other ones that I'm kind of communicating with that we're putting this to the county board, okay. And they were supportive, of course.
Yeah, that we go under the firing.
Yeah, but in the past, other counties have supported this. That's why there's been legislation drafted that's never been adopted.
Does the highway department do, in my line of business, was a line of business analysis or cost analysis? You said you've never gone out to bid on that. Do you go through and cost out what it really cost you to run, say, the paving department or the hot mix plant, whatever? Would it be cheaper to outsource, kind of building off of the other supervisor's comments? Do we analyze what we're doing? I mean, that's one of the largest complaints I heard on calls was we're not efficiently using our funds. And if we do a line of business, I'd like that available so that we can show that, hey, we are positive, we're doing the right things. I know on some equipment you've mentioned you share with other counties. Is there other sources that we can do that with to become more efficient? So.
You want to go first on that?
I could try.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we go through our production costs every year. That's looked at every year. We set our hot mix costs off our production costs, our gravel crushing off our production costs. A good comparison I can tell you is just, our cost per ton on hot mix. If you look at what the DOTs get for bids from big guys in hot mix, if you look at a DOT price and we're making a DOT mix, we're usually substantially cheaper than what the DOT's paying for their hot mix. If that helps, I'll explain that.
I mean, are you looking at total cost, labor, benefits, everything loaded in?
Yep.
Total loaded expense? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, we staff what we staff at the highway department is for snow plowing. I was told that back 27 years ago when I started. The staff we have is because that's the staff we need to perform winter maintenance. We're one of the few counties in the state that still has a hot mix plant, the gravel crushing. But we can control our own destinies with this. We're not held hostage. Other counties have sold their plants. They got great deals on cost per ton for a short time. They also are now held hostage. They're going to pave when that particular contractor moves in and decides they're going to pave. So we control our own destiny with what we've got. We try and stay cost effective. We can't make money. We basically we're time materials. So you know, we do what we can to be as efficient as we can. We look at our equipment every year. We go through, we have been downsizing our fleet of haul trucks. Last year, we went and, we did, a 3-for-4. Got rid of 4, we got 3 replacements. Haul trucks were getting very old, a lot of miles on them. We're gonna be looking at doing that again in the future, downsizing, dropping some more. There's some things that are kind of necessary evils for us to keep, not catch. Road graders. Over the years that I've been here, we've got rid of a substantial number of road graders, and it was justified. But at some point, we're gonna need to keep some. Unfortunately, I mean, they may not get a lot of hours on them, but as soon as we have a major ice storm or some real heavy blizzards, that's when we need those. It's kind of the corn planter analogy. You know, farmer doesn't use his corn planter but once a year, but he needs to have it. So we balance that stuff. We try and find what we can. You know, you talked about other counties, Barron County, we work with them under chip spreader. We had a chip spreader. It was old. It was poor condition. It was as good as condition as it could be for its age. It was inefficient. Working with Barron County, it's perfect for us. We don't bear the we didn't bear the cost of it. We pay the state rental rate for it. We get it when we need it, and it works well. I know the state's gonna be looking at trying to get counties to share stuff. We purchased a grout pump through the state. We will all send the state guys to other counties if they've got pipes they want grouted. So, you know, we work where we can with the others.
Also, I thought I read that the state shared revenue for transportation went up 3% or something like that. I think one of the representatives was touting what they did. Did we get that? I mean, not on their.
Not for transportation, that they added on to state shared revenue 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where they guaranteed, the legislature and the governor made an arrangement where local governments were guaranteed 20% of the state sales tax went to fund local government. So there was a bump the first year, then it's leveled off. So now you're just, sales tax moves up at the state, sales tax collection at the state level will move up. We get a little bit bigger piece, but I'll tell you it's not.
They were talking transportation, that it went up, and I think out on their website, it showed like a 3.4% increase. And
I'm not aware of anything specific to transportation, it's just their general state shared revenue.
Supervisor Ives.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like it was stated by some other supervisors, this is just a resolution to go to WCA. And if we deny it, it doesn't mean any other counties of the other 70 counties won't bring it to WCA. Then WCA have been on their resolutions committee for several years. We look at all the resolutions that come to WCA. We vote for them at that board, which ones are gonna go, which ones aren't. Any that we approve, then it goes to the chairs of every county, and they are at the WCA conference, and then they vote on what to do. Then it would go on to the legislatures. That's some of the papers that you do if you go to like the January legislative exchange, you know, talking points, telling your local representatives that they should implement this, look into it, and then they would vote for it at that level. And so then if it does ever pass, which probably I'm guessing several years, then you would vote for it at your own county level if you're going to implement it or not. So this is just saying Chippewa County would encourage them to look at increase or doing the 0.5% county sales tax to help us with roads and infrastructure. That's all this is.
Thank you. Supervisor Gutman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments, not really any questions. I first of all want to appreciate the public that has spoken and also my colleagues that are with the Highway Department. I know that you've spent a lot of time, work, and effort. And I think that this is an issue that we see is requiring a lot of complexity. It's a way to communicate with the legislature that this is a need. Some of the supporting documentation that I received identifies that about 68 of 72 counties have looked at allowing this 0.5% sales tax. So I'm anticipating the Wisconsin Counties Association.
68 to 72 counties have the 0.5% current.
Oh, have a current, okay.
Current,
Thank you for clarifying
yep.
that. I think the point is that it's a communication tool to indicate to our state representatives and senators that this is a huge increasing need for us at the county and as well at the local level. So you have to think about this as a document and a communication tool. I happen to be in some of the most rural northern, northeastern areas, and I have phone calls and emails because I have fellow constituents that are saying that the roads are so poor and they are having to stop vehicles that provide public transportation for children, and they can't actually travel very far on the roads because of, if they meet another road, the shoulders are deteriorating so bad that they have difficulty and it's causing a lot of wear and tear on their vehicles. So there is a significant need of those pieces. I think we also have to think about that, the average daily transportation or the average daily count sometimes isn't a true reflection of the deterioration that's happening in very rural areas. I live in a pretty significant both tourist and farm agricultural area, and we may not have the daily traffic. I've looked at research across the nation, and actually internationally, there are some models out there, we're not anywhere near here in the United States about this, but when you have huge, heavy farm machinery that is using your rural roads, we don't have the numbers of vehicles going, but we are having a lot of deterioration because of the heavier loads. When you have a lot of heavy loads coming through that are using roads that are already quickly deteriorating, that causes a lot of additional challenge. I also want to just make the comment that at our local levels, and especially at some of the township meetings that I've been at, they too are of course, really, really struggling, and certainly as indicated as some of the public comment. But they also are struggling, and some of them are also having to go out to obtain loans because they are also fiscally challenged. And so if this would, this communication tool that would come through could potentially actually help with some of that 0.25%. And then lastly, I just wanted to also remind all of us that there is the likelihood that a referendum would need to come back to the voters. And we're looking at this at over a year and a half easily before any of this would actually come to fruition. And the voter and our constituents would still have that last say with the referendum. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Shoebridge.
Yes, with clarifying the semantics, yes, we are not raising the taxes tomorrow. However, our actions are going towards that end of raising taxes. And with that, I think the people need to be informed as well as possible and have a voice as well as possible. So between the last vote at the executive meeting and tonight's vote is 1 week. Our newspaper in Bloomer only publishes once a week. So tomorrow they print we get the paper about the executive meeting decision. So basically, most of our constituents haven't even heard about this yet. So I would like to make a motion to postpone this till the next meeting so that all the people can get informed, normal process.
Lots will second.
All right, we have a motion and second on the floor to postpone to the July County Board meeting. Does anyone have any questions on the postponement? You'll have to raise your hand as Jackie was typing up the motion. Supervisor Bachman.
What does that do to the WCA timeline?
I don't believe it would make the consideration for the fall meeting. The resolutions are due to WCA next week.
Supervisor Flater. Oh, were you done, Supervisor?
Yeah, that's
That was same
question.
I was aware of, yes.
All right. Do you have any other questions about the postponement? So the clerk is ready. We will.
That was Shoebridge and Lotz, correct?
Shoebridge and Lotz, yes.
The yes, no,
Yes, so a green yes means you're in favor of postponing this until the July meeting. Pushing red for no means you want to vote on it tonight. That is the the basic version of what we're voting on. We're voting on the postponement right now, not the actual resolution. Any last questions? All right, we are now voting on the postponement of this resolution. Five yes, 11 no, postponement fails. We are back to the original motion to approve. We had a couple names up that's looking to speak. Those get saved in the system. Okay, one moment and we will.
I lied, I guess.
I know Supervisor Isel was one of them. I don't remember who the second one was. Please press your button. Oh, you're,
Oh, yeah, this,
oh,
back up, I don't-
okay, Supervisor Enoch.
We talk about this referendum like it's a given. What guarantee do we have that if we agree to pass this down to the counties and the state, that we would actually have a referendum? There's no guarantees, none. We wouldn't get the people's voices on that. What guarantee would we have that we would have a referendum?
Effectively, there would be none unless, I mean, you're putting it in there, asking the legislature, or telling the legislature you feel a referendum should be required. It would be up to them to require it or not. If they do, then you would have to have a referendum. If they do not, then it'd be the decision of whatever board would take up this issue in the future to decide to do a referendum on their own.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bomar.
Thank you. I've talked to, like many of you, more than a number of constituents in the last week than you've probably talked to in the last few months. And once I've explained to them the process, I'm probably at about 50-50 with people saying, let's keep the conversation going, right? If I asked any one of those people that I talked to, do you want to pay more taxes? You already all know the answer to that question, right? And I'm just like that. I don't want to pay taxes either. But what do I want? I want good roads, right? If we stop this conversation here now, we're done having the conversation and we're still going to have the same road issues that we have. Note, as many people have discussed, this is really about putting a proposal forward to have a conversation. Because everybody in every county that I've talked to, Supervisor Flater, I'm certain has talked to many more county road people than I have, but the state is in a real burden for having road repairs. We're behind, right? Failing to address it just means the counties, whether it's Chippewa County or any other county, gets further behind. There needs to be a deep, heartfelt conversation at the state level. And whether that's a 0.5% sales tax or some other avenue, I don't have the answer to that question. But what a vote yes here allows that conversation to continue. And that's what we really want to have. The conversation has to continue. Do I want a 0.5% sales tax? Probably not. I'm not excited about that. Am I excited about having a conversation to get to a pathway to figure out how the state can facilitate, help the counties and towns work on the roads? I'm 100% in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Shoebridge.
I'm glad we're all like the referendum idea, that everyone is on board with that. So I'd like to make a motion to amend that upon adoption through referendum, have this vote here be done through a referendum so that the people at least have that opportunity. They know it's going to happen. It's guaranteed it's going to happen. And when WC gets their tablet, the referendum will be done by their tabby, or having us at referendum is their answer. So I guess that is my motion, is to add it by adoption through referendum.
Were you
It's in there, isn't it?
That this particular advisory resolution also go through referendum? Is that what I'm understanding?
Decision here will go through referendum. To send it to WC.
Oh, I see.
That way the people are certain to get the referendum as of maybe one later.
I don't think you can do a referendum to that. It has to be. Because this could be. I don't even know how to.
I'm not sure if I understand. The question is, do a referendum to send this to WCA?
Right, for this advisory resolution to go to referendum before it's forwarded to WCA. That is what I'm gathering.
That is correct.
Create a referendum.
Next week.
Well, aside from referendum.
I don't think.
Functionally, like regardless of the deadline, is that functionally,
I don't know that the county's been given authority to do that. Preaching to the state, I don't know anywhere where it says that a resolution taken up by the county board can decide that for, regardless of what it decides, that it still has to go to a referendum.
It doesn't have to. We choose to give the people that choice. We've already said we're gonna give them that choice.
Authority by the state to do that.
before we go too far, is there a second? There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'm confused here. Are you talking about, you want this advisory referendum, this advisory thing to go to referendum?
Right.
Don't we just want wording?
Before we debate too much, is there a second to actually put it on the floor? Motion fails with a lack of second. Back to the original motion of approving the advisory resolution. Supervisor Isold.
Have we exhausted every option? Is there other options? Are there other, I mean, have we tabled them? Have we put them out there? Is the only?
As far as, I mean, are there other options for us for the funds?
To get this money? Is there other options?
There are.
I mean, right, but what are they? Have we named them all?
Well,
Have we given that possibility out there? Are we? None of
the ones we have authority for on our own, really the only one is vehicle registration fee that we could assess on all the, the wheel tax in the county. I believe that the committee, this came out of the highway committee, they've ruled that out, that is not a good option. The other things, if we're talking about generating additional money, the other, and this really isn't generating, but I mean, it's leaning more on things that would go on the property tax, like borrowing more, debt service, bonding for more of our equipment rather than using sales tax. I think the committee has we put some on, or have requested to put some on to the debt service, but any of those options raise the property tax levy. So I believe the reason this is coming out is because it's not a wheel tax, and it generates some revenue from non-resident users of our road system.
And so when he said prior, we send it to them to make a decision, it was, almost felt like they could say, oh, no, you're not gonna do the 0.5%, you're gonna do the wheel tax instead. They wanna raise your tax. I mean, that was kind of what I just said.
I'm not sure, he probably better to answer that. I mean, I gotta say, like, outside of the things that have local control, this last session, there was, and the highway committee knows this because we talked about it there was some talk about going back to indexing of the gas tax. Gas tax has been flat for 15 years?
20.
20, thank you. So there was some talk about indexing it so it would start to go up as the price of fuel goes up.
At the state level.
At the state level. And I would just say the problem we see with that is that it's, again, the state collecting the money. If they did that, then I'll just tell you, they abandoned that. I think it was about the time gas started to go up in cost, they abandoned that idea. But that state decision, the state would assess that, state collects the money, and somehow we would potentially get some of that to go to our local roads. I'll go ahead.
The one thing that I'm gonna be honest with you that I like about this sales tax is we would hope that it would come back to us, for us to decide how the money's gonna be spent. Gas tax, that's gonna go, if the state's gonna meter that out. They're gonna pull it here, they're gonna pull it there. We're not gonna get as much bang for our buck. I can tell you a lot of the state programs, that we use, we spend a lot of money jumping through hoops, following all the state processes. Some of our projects cost us a lot more money because of what we have to do in order to use that money. We have to spend money to get money, so to speak. So that's where, with this 0.5%, we would hope that we would have more control locally of what we could do with it. We wouldn't have any other hands in the pot pulling it away. You and I have had that conversation.
Are you truly confident that you've exhausted all resources? That you've exhausted every which way to turn your money? Are you confident in that? Are you telling everybody here today that you are extremely confident? The county saying that we are extremely confident we have done everything possible, down to, are we buying the equipment from the same person that we've been buying from for 20 years and maybe we find somebody else? Are we, like I said, are we bidding this out to somebody else to see if they're cheaper than you? Are we flopping? Are we going in and saying, okay, well, you know what, we'll buy this equipment, you buy this equipment. You use yours, you use ours. Have we done all of that?
I'm going to jump in here. We are going down a very subjective road, and us as supervisors, that is what we are entrusted with. We keep throwing this word of we about, have we done this, have we done that? Sometimes we need to look in the mirror. There can be only so many ways we can spend the dollars used in the highway department. The audits are available for everyone every year, every single year.
Can I just give a quick answer to that, though?
Yes.
And the short answer is no, because it's continuous improvement. Am I confident that we are trying to make those decisions every day or every budget cycle? Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of sharing equipment, working with other counties, looking at prioritization of our roads, trying to lower our costs, that's like an ongoing thing, so it's never done. And I maybe would just add a separate comment, like, I know the perception is that because we are acting on this resolution, if it's approved, that means we want a 0.5% sales tax. I would stress, I think Mr. Supervisor Bomar did a really good job as well. It's about the conversation about, we want to put this out there as an option that could be available in the future. Realistically, this is not a today solution. This is not a end of the year. It's not a next year solution. If we're lucky, we'll see something in 2 years, and I would project it's going to be longer than that. And if you add in, if they give us the option, I think all the questions you've asked tonight, questions we'll have to lay bare, have a referendum and sell this to the taxpayer. So this is like a 2, 3, 4 year thing down the road. And at that time, we're going to take another look at what are the options, like the things you just said, like, have we exhausted all the other options? We'll go to referendum, and if that's the option and the board wants to go to referendum, we'll make our best sales pitch. But we're going to look at all the other options that are available to us at that time. Maybe the conversation that this generates elsewhere leads to other solutions that we can take advantage of. And I would say the problem here is a little bit more magnified just because of, we do have a low per capita levy. We have a low tax rate. There's very little ability for us to raise that, but yet we have these 488 miles of county roads. We have a larger nut to crack than other counties do, and just to pay or plow our roads in the wintertime.
Yes.
It takes a little bit bigger crew. So that's why it's probably a little different here, but I'll just say, like, Chris, myself, the rest of the team out at the highway department and our other departments, that's like every day we're trying to exhaust other options and figure out what's the best way to proceed.
Supervisor Hennick.
I just want to ask you to clarify when we do go to vote, what yes means and what no means.
Yes would mean we are in favor of sending this proposed advisory resolution to the WCA for consideration and to all our legislatures and the governor and all the other counties as well. It's in favor of pushing this on for the conversation. No means we are not in favor of sending this on for consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Gutman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please excuse my ignorance here, but I'm a little confused because the last whereas statement before now therefore be it resolved talks about before the final approval of an additional 0.50% sales tax before implementation would be through a referendum vote taken by Chippewa County residents. So as we were discussing the referendum, I mean, this advisory, isn't that also saying that, or am I misunderstanding?
That's telling the legislature that we feel a referendum should be required to adopt
Right.
percent sale. I mean, you could also interpret that to mean that if this is ever an option, the board is saying we would hold a referendum to adopt it.
Right. So, given some of the previous conversations, that piece is already in there. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Ives.
It looks like it's over. I was going to try to make a motion to move to close debate and vote on. Call the question.
Motion to call the question would need a second, and then a 2/3 vote to call the question.
You looking for a second?
To call the question.
Yes, I'll second that.
Call the question. I have a motion and a second to call the question. Now the vote's to call. Okay, so we are about to take a vote to call the question. That means that we are closing debate. This is not a vote to approve the advisory resolution. This is a vote to close debate, and then our next action would to be vote on approval or denial of the resolution. Do we have any questions about the call to vote, or call to close the call? I'm sorry. Okay.
Late night.
To call the vote. All right, that is what we were voting on, to close debate and call the vote. Are you ready? I am sorry.
Oh, I just gotta find it again. Now you can vote.
Oh, we were voting. All right, 16 yes to call the vote. That means when you are ready, we will call the vote for approval or denial of the proposed resolution to be forwarded on to the WCA for consideration. You ready? We are voting on the advisory resolution. Ten yes, 6 no. Advisory resolution passes. Will be forwarded on to WCA for consideration. Next item, we are up to ordinance 07-26, ordinance to amend chapter 70 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances zoning ordinance. First reading. Mr. Alvarado or Mr. Larry, I don't know who would like, wait, okay, wait till. Definitely. Definitely,
It's definitely Doug.
yeah. This is a first reading. We will not be voting on this evening.
Just wait for the crowd to leave. Apparently not. Leaving just when the good stuff is starting.
And you were hiding in the corner over there either.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Doug Clary for the individuals, the new county board supervisors. Before you tonight, we're looking at chapter 70, which is the county zoning ordinance. This zoning ordinance is only applicable in 6 of the towns within the county. Just to give you a recap, it's the town of Wheaton, town of Halley, town of Lafayette, Eagle Point, Anson, as well as the town of Woodmore. So on the map, if you look at it, kind of surrounding the city of Chippewa Falls and then up towards Bloomer. We've worked with the zone towns, once again, those 6, to amend the ordinance. It takes the county board to approve it, but it also, with the towns, I need at least 51% of those towns to approve these amendments as well. The towns reviewed these in May. The Planning and Zoning Committee reviewed them in May as well. And tonight, those ordinances are in front of you for just this first reading. I won't take up a lot of your time in regards to Chapter 70. These modifications are looking at basically dwelling units that are in the commercial district. In the past, the ordinance actually only allowed the owner or the owner's agent to rent out kind of like a flat or a unit within that commercial building. This will allow them to actually rent it out as a short-term or a long-term rental, depending on which they choose. One of the other items in here is allowing for temporary parking within the zone towns. This was kind of brought to us in regards to the Country Jam or Music Fest grounds in the city of Eau Claire that are just adjacent to this town of Wheaton. We had an individual out there that was looking at utilizing his property for the temporary parking. So this portion of the ordinance will allow that with some restrictions. The Planning and Zoning Committee, just as a side note, they did take a look at it and did have some questions about limiting the number of days in the year as well as the signage. But once again, the towns reviewed this. They approved it this way. If we do see some issues in the future that need to be addressed, we'll bring it back in front of the Planning and Zoning Committee and the county board to get those changes if need be. The third provision in here does deal with home occupations. The committee had felt that we should kind of loosen up those restrictions, especially after COVID. We saw a lot of home occupations kind of pop up, different variables in there. We did leave in professional medical offices, and the other one we kind of added in here was the beauty and barber shops. And the only reasons why we kind of left those in there is because they are on private septic systems, and we need to kind of take a look at that with the use that's going in there. But this opens up the door a little bit more for like lawyers or those businesses that are just kind of incognito. You're really not going to see them within that residential neighborhood. The last one, I take it back. That is the last one, except for within the tourist rooming house, we just made the connection to that, the dwelling unit within there, that they'd be able to use that. So with that, I'll take any questions if you have any tonight. If not, I will be back next month as well.
Are there any questions? Supervisor Gehring?
I would like to make a motion to eliminate the second reading.
I'll second.
Motion second. To waive the rules and waive second reading. Yep, this will take a 2/3 majority in order to waive and vote on this evening.
Voting on the waive first.
Yes, when you're ready. Do you have any questions on what it means to waive the rules and waive the second reading before we?
So is the 2/3 vote of the people here today or of the?
That's a good question.
Present, yes. 2/3 present to waive, and then we'd vote on ordinance amendments.
Is there a compelling reason? Is it requested or just?
Supervisor Lotz, did you second? Supervisor
Thank
Lotz.
you.
I do not have feedback on that, so Mr. Clay, here's.
I mean, if I may, I didn't have any specific conversations with any of the county board supervisors in regards to that motion. But let's take a look at the process in regards to zoning ordinance amendments. This ordinance amendment has been on almost 12 agendas for review, and then the Planning and Zoning Committee and into the county board. Zoning ordinances are one of the most public type of, when the public is involved, we have plan commissions, we have town boards, and we have Planning and Zoning Committee, once again, the county board that actually looks at these ordinances. These things have been in the public arena for almost 2 months now. So in my humble opinion, I appreciate the proposal or the motion that's on the floor. However, it's up to the county board whether they want to waive that.
Do you have any other questions? All right, we're voting on the suspension of rules and waiving the second reading. That is the vote right now. Fifteen to 1, that does meet the 2/3 threshold. So considering that, I would look for a motion to approve to put this on the floor.
Later seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have any further input, Mr. Clary?
I do not.
Do we have any additional questions for Mr. Clary before we vote on the ordinance amendments in 07-26? Supervisor Hardy.
This may be very simple and silly, but I noticed that in the parking edition, it said that no signage or directional signs on-site or off-site. Does that mean that a person cannot put a parking sign in their yard?
Well, underneath this ordinance, yes. I mean, these are meant to be temporary.
Okay.
If they decide to put them in the town roadway, or town road right-of-way, or the county highway road right-of-way, then those jurisdictions will be responsible for removing them, but not on my end of it.
Do we have any other questions? Hearing none, we are now voting on ordinance 07-26. Sixteen yes, 0 no. It is approved. So that brings us to ordinance 08-26, ordinance to amend chapter 10, County Code of Ordinances regarding building and building regulations. Mr. Clary as well.
All right. First reading. This is the Uniform Dwelling Code, which is statewide. Chippewa County is one of 13 counties that actually has a countywide uniform dwelling code. The state sets up the standards, and then the municipalities and/or the county have the ability to adopt an ordinance and enforce it within their jurisdiction. Currently, in my department, where it's been since 1995, we enforce the Uniform Dwelling Code for a supermajority of the towns and cities and villages within Chippewa County. It's easier for me to name the ones that we don't enforce, which is the city of Chippewa Falls, city of Eau Claire, and the town of Howard. The only three. Other than that, all the other municipalities work with us for those uniform dwelling code inspections. This ordinance puts together and clarifies kind of that enforcement on our end and where we're going to enforce the Uniform Dwelling Code. It also sets a new standard in here, and I'll explain that really quickly. On June 1st of 1980 is actually when the Uniform Dwelling Code standards went in effect in Chippewa County, or in the state of Wisconsin. June 1st, 1980, just to give you reference, I was just getting out of second grade and looking forward to a good year in the pool. So it's been a long, long time, right? Anything prior to June 1st of 1980 does not have any type of a building code associated with it. Anything after that does. We have jurisdictions out here, or we have a lot of houses, that were built prior to 1980. In our line, we get a lot of phone calls from individuals who have bought a house that was flipped, bought a house that may not have been built correctly, had a contractor that came in and worked on it and didn't do the right repairs. One of the portions of this ordinance allows us to adopt those Uniform Dwelling Code requirements for any of those houses prior to that June 1st of 1980, but it also allows us an opportunity, or allows the homeowner the opportunity to decide if they want us to come in and do the inspections. So we give them the ordinance, or we give them the criteria for the house. It's up to them to decide whether they want the inspection, but it still requires the contractor or that homeowner to follow the code itself. So that's kind of the beauty of that 1980 timeframe. Anything after that, any of the new homes, we do inspect. This one also clarifies that we'll actually do the inspections for those alterations and those additions to those houses after 1980. Now, it's not the entire county that we're looking at those inspections, because there are a couple caveats to this. One, back in 03-05, the Uniform Dwelling Code ordinance went through some major hurdles at the state level because of just what I explained. We have contractors out here, very good contractors that do very good work. And we have some other individuals that they don't have a code, so they're like, hey, I'll put a 2x4 up here for a header. You buy the house, everything looks great, and then 2 years later, all of a sudden, your windows are cracking because that header isn't built correctly on that house. This in that 05 timeframe, they made those changes to the ordinance where now every municipality has to have some type of inspections. If they don't have the inspections, it defaults to the state, and the state comes back to the county and says, we want you to enforce the ordinance in this particular area. Every municipality in the county, except those three, they have the ability to adopt their own ordinance and do their own inspections, or they have the ability to adopt an ordinance and do a 6630 agreement. It's a 0301 agreement now with another municipality to provide for those inspections as well. Or they can sign up with the county. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. We're giving the tools to the individuals to make sure that their houses are built to a code. We're also out there doing inspections at their, if they request it. But then there are some times where they don't get the opportunity to request it, and we still do our inspections on those particular houses. A couple of the other provisions in here, we're going to look at the inspections of electrical and plumbing services and detached accessory structures. We're starting to see a lot of issues within those structures, so we will do those inspections. And once again, that 1980 is kind of a time frame that we're going to be looking at. We will inspect the installation of new and replaced electrical services as well. We had a lot of requests from those, not only from like property owners, but also from the electricians as well as from the electrical companies that they want us to go out and do those inspections. Lastly in this ordinance, we did, two things. One, we did increase the penalties to get them kind of up a little bit higher. I don't like to issue citations, but sometimes it's the only way that we can move a project forward and get compliance that we need. One of the things that happened about 2015 on forward is that we have individuals that are moving into these houses without final occupancy. And we needed some type of I'll call it a hammer, you can call it an incentive, you can call it whatever you want, but to get them not to move in until they actually get that occupancy permit from the county. So this one does actually produce or if we find that they moved in without that occupancy, it's a penalty of $1,000. So we're trying to get out there, we're trying to do our job, but when they don't call us and all of a sudden 2 months later, they've moved in completely, because we can't get to all the houses and check them on a daily basis, see what they're doing, this one sets it up. So you move into your house, that'll be part of the permits. You move in prior, it's a $1,000 forfeiture right out of the gate, and we'll go to court on it. So, not to be strong-winded on that, but it is a problem, and we'll figure out how to address it. So it's not everybody, just a select few individuals. So that's all I really have. Is there any questions?
What questions do we have? Supervisor Bachman.
I know she totally wiped out, B5, which has a lot of small things in it. Repairs to HVAC, dwelling repairs of less than 100 square feet. So that means you're gonna have to permit for roofing?
No,
Because you took the re-siding, re-roofing out, so that's now gone, that we're exempt.
So I apologize for that. When we started working through this ordinance, that was actually included in the language, and we took it out because we do not get permits for siding a building, re-roofing a building, putting in new windows or doors. If they are moving a door within a structure, we may get a permit based on the fact that they're putting some type of a landing or some type of a stoop on the outside of it, but we won't get permits for that. And I believe that that's covered actually underneath the Uniform Dwelling Code as well as a state statute, where if it's just a repair, we don't get permits on that. Good.
You mentioned the 1980, you now can go back. So if someone resides there, do they have to bring it, is it like the ADA where you had to bring it up to code? Or it just what remodel is being done is what's inspected?
It would be the remodel or the alteration that's done within the structure, and it's only at the request of the property owner that we would actually do that inspection.
The little old lady that lives in her house isn't gonna have to totally go through it.
Correct. I know that there's been horror stories out there about that. That's not us.
And I guess my last comment is, have you had that many failures that you have to raise the penalties? I mean, you have that many offenders?
We don't.
Get it done?
We don't. My mode is to try to get compliance without having to involve the court systems. And that's, I don't have a number for you on a yearly basis, but in the entire department, if we issue 12 citations a year, that's a lot.
Just going from $50 to $200 is kind of,
It gets it back up into where it's in line with all of our other ordinances that we have right now.
Supervisor Hardy.
Thank you. I have a question about what is included in number 6 and 10.4, the installation of new electrical service. What exactly does that include? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Okay.
Wondering, what if I decide to grab a solar panel and plug it in my house so that it's supplying some electrical energy to my house? Is that covered under this, or is there something specific?
Very, very good question. So on a house or on a building, you have that meter socket. That, when they replace that, that is actually the electrical service that we're talking about.
Okay.
Yep, it has nothing to do with plugging in like solar panels.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions? Thank you, Doug.
Yep, thank you.
All right, then we are on to ordinance 0926, ordinance to amend section 50-1 and 50-22 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding parks. First reading. Who's taking this one?
So basically, this ordinance amendment is kind of a housekeeping thing. Since we entered into the lease with the XL Energy owned boat landing, the former Rod and Gun boat landing, we needed to add it to the list of county special recreation areas that are under the management of the Facilities and Parks Division. And then along with that, we would remove the listing of the swimming zones. The Otter Lake Beach has been permanently closed. So it's just a matter of getting those done in the ordinance amending sections.
This is a first reading. What questions do we have? Supervisor Bomar.
I sent an email earlier and seeking some clarity about 5022B. And it relates back to when we dealt with wake boats and who was responsible. And there's some state statute somewhere, and Linda may be able to help, that we went through that talked about how towns are responsible for lakes and counties are responsible for rivers. This here states that the county is responsible for the lake. So I just need to have some, to make sure I'm sure I'm confused. I just want to make sure that we're consistent. That's
Sure. So reading that, seeing that those are the areas, Lake Holcomb, Long Lake, Otter Lake, Round Lake, and Moon Bay Launch, Trail Boat Launch. Those are the ones that are under the Facilities and Parks Division. But the County Sheriff's Department is the one that would get the call to go out and enforce. I think
the County Sheriff's Department, by default probably because it's Chippewa County.
Yeah.
And our towns don't have their own, would probably be doing it in either case.
Yeah.
But it's the jurisdiction of the county statement that I'm curious about. Is that jurisdiction of the county or is it jurisdiction of the town? Because I was under the understanding that the towns were responsible for the jurisdiction of the lakes.
Well, is this a difference between regulating and enforcing, though? Because the towns don't have an enforcement arm.
Yes, I guess, yeah, it's a question of that because the towns would do the lakes and counties would do the rivers, as you stated.
Right.
I guess I'm not familiar with when this language was written in there.
Yeah,
This is a first reading. Could
And
you look
I'm
into
not-
that and bring that back for next month before the vote, just to clarify?
that would be great. I'm just,
Do that.
would like to, because when we went through the wake boat issue, that was that was a concern about who was going to. And again, I agree, both whether it's the town or the county that has jurisdiction, it's probably going to be the sheriff's department going to be out enforcing it. So.
Okay. So I guess what I'm understanding is that before the second reading, you would like some clarification on that and possible amendment to that if needed?
What, if needed, what's appropriate? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I'm looking at this is not for that language, but I can investigate it and take a look at it and see what I can come up with.
that would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Supervisor Lotz.
Oh, I was gonna move it,
Okay.
but he wants a second, so,
Oh,
wants a second reading, so.
oh,
Skip it.
Well,
All right.
so I can read it. I can investigate this and see what I can come up with. Try to get some clarification.
okay. Do we have any additional questions?
Come back next month.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
We're on to number 15, purchasing policy revisions. This is a second reading. I would look for a motion to approve.
Later, so moved.
Lots will second.
Motion. Second. We talked about this last month. If you'd like to come up, just field any questions if there are any. Do we have any questions for the finance director before we vote? Seeing none, we will call the vote to approve the purchasing policy revisions. Sixteen yes, 0 no. It is approved. There are no appointments to consider tonight. Agenda items for future consideration. Please always feel free to get those to myself or Administrator Alvarado. Then I would look for number 12, a motion to adjourn.
Erickson will make that
Lots will
motion to
second.
adjourn.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.